What if we could stop the pain from hurting? What if we knew that love could mend the spirit? Broken into reverse that broken feeling. Just say I do, and I will follow wherever you may go. I know it's so uncertain, but I'm tired of hurting now. Now, all my tears and searching, gonna open up my curtains now. 'Cause I don't wanna miss out. Take me on a big adventure. Baby, if we stay together, we could stay young forever. Where will you go if you could time travel? Take me on a big adventure. Baby, if we stay together, we could stay young forever. Where will you go if you could time travel? What if we could pick up the missing pieces? What if we knew that love would never let us down? Broken into reverse that broken feeling. Just say I do, and I will follow wherever you may go. I know it's so uncertain, but I'm tired of hurting now. Now, all my tears and searching, gonna open up my curtains now. 'Cause I don't wanna miss out. Take me on a big adventure. Baby, if we stay together, we can stay young forever. Where will you go if you could time travel? Take me on a big adventure. Baby, if we stay together, we can stay young forever. Where will you go if you could time travel? Where will you go? Where will you go? Where will you go if you could time travel? I've been waiting all my life for something. I've been down the darkest roads and up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I found you right there in the crowd. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe with you, baby, here in my heart. When I'm with you, I feel so much better, oh, yeah. Before you, I was just a shell, so stuck in the dark. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky, oh. There's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. Cause you know, and I know, we're onto something good. You know, and I know, we got something good. Follow your heart, baby, don't be shy. Just follow yours and I'll follow mine. Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. Cause you know, and I know, we're onto something good. You know, and I know, we got something good. Something good. Something good. Life goes up and it goes down. I know my mom taught me that. I figured why we fool around so little, and we keep track of time, being so serious, idiots, thinking it will matter, keep me company downtown before the clock runs out. Sun is shining, but the rain is welcome too. Friends are nearby, don't need another view. Time is not on my mind, but then it's you. Oh, I love it when the love comes around, and then I remember all things must pass. But I'm not gonna wake up, wake up. I'm not ready, let me have another day. Don't wake up, wake up. Keep it steady, cause I'm happy, I'm not gonna wake up. No, no, not yet, whoa. No, not yet, whoa. No, no, not yet, whoa. I'm afraid I'll end up nowhere. They keep saying I'll be fine, but how you know that I'll be there when it feels like I'm lying every time someone asks how it goes, and I save the details that actually mean something. Sun is shining, but the rain is welcome too. Friends are nearby, don't need another view. Time is not on my mind, but then it's you. Oh, I love it when the love comes around, and then I remember all things must pass. But I'm not gonna wake up, wake up.
Hello, everybody. All right. The music is coming down. Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Beyond the Doll. We are gonna, give me a second, change views here. 1 second. Hello everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? So it is Friday night, 10 p.m. It is yet another episode of Beyond the Doll. Today is episode 11. This is Dolls on YouTube. So as the title pretty much suggests, we are going to be talking all about dolls and YouTube together, like how it all came to be. Like basically, I'm a YouTuber that talks about dolls, and I brought along some guests with me that are also going to be talking about their experiences with YouTube and dolls as well. So, for those of you that have read the title description and everything, I have my two lovely guests actually from the YouTube channel, My Lady Disdain. So, everybody, let's give it up for my guests. Let's switch it over to them. Hello there. What's going on? Oh, I think you still got yourself on
Keyboard
mute there.
shortcuts not working.
Yeah. Hello there. So this is, if for those of you that don't know, this is My Lady Disdain's YouTube channel's hosts, basically, as John and Sandy. So John and Sandy, if you could please give yourselves like a small introduction for everybody on YouTube.
Okay, well, I'm Sandy.
And I'm John.
And we are My Lady Disdain. And we do a channel based mostly around Smart Doll.
Yeah.
So
Unboxings, news, custom dolls and outfits, and storytelling.
So it's pretty much, I would say, let me just move my little Anastasia off to the side for a second. I would say that our channels, in some ways or less, are kind of similar. I mean, we've both done unboxing videos of dolls. We've both done new segments and, outfits, collections, and things like that. So in those respects, our channels are somewhat similar, but we do have differences as well. Like, my entrance into YouTube and dolls is very different than your entrance to YouTube and dolls. And that's kind of like what I want to bring you guys on for today, because most of my viewers know my story for the most part of how I got started. But not everybody's journey through YouTube ends up being the same. You can cover similar topics or even different topics, but it's never really exactly the same journey. So I wanted to get like another perspective of what it's like to be essentially a doll YouTuber. So before we get on to talking about dolls and YouTube in specific, I kind of want to get your origin story, actually. Kind of like how you got started with dolls in the first place. I don't know how...
Spiders.
yeah, right. Interdimensional travel.
Yeah.
Right. No, I actually collected Barbies. I was big into Barbies the whole time through my childhood, and then in my 20s and 30s, I also collected Barbies. And then they got put away, and I got more into acting, theater, and then into sewing costuming. And then let's see what happened. I guess I got kind of unmotivated for a while to do any sewing or anything for a long time. And John suggested that I start a YouTube channel. And so I was going to do a YouTube channel around sewing, and mostly for like historical costuming, retro clothing, etc. And the name My Lady Disdain, which is a nickname for Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare, came from the idea that people should be able to do whatever they want and they can be whoever they want. And in my case, you can be feminine and romantic and like all the girly things and still be a strong, powerful, modern person. And so that's where the name of the channel came from. And then we just didn't really go too far with it. And John got me a BJD.
Well, I mean, you had also started to get into American Girl at that point.
Yeah, I was trying to sew
Oh, yeah,
for
that's
American
popular.
Girl because I thought, okay, well, I can make my historical costumes and stuff for American Girl. But the sort of 9 to 12-year-old aesthetic of American Girl just really doesn't work for me. And so I kind of didn't get really motivated by them either. And then, as I was saying, John got me a BJD for Christmas a few years ago, an inexpensive one from Amazon, and then made the mistake of saying to me, well, I was gonna get you a smart doll. And I said, what's a smart doll?
Oh no, the floodgates open.
I'm typically a little too honest for my own good in that, like, I was excited about it and it was really cool and I wanted to share it, but it was like, she might kill me if I spend this much money like out of nowhere on something that's completely like, it would have taken over Christmas, it would have just been too much, and I didn't risk it. Lo and behold, after I told her that, a week later, after binging every possible video on the internet about Smart Doll, we bought two.
And which were the two?
Holiday period, and we had to wait.
Oh yeah.
Which were the two?
You bought.
I got Classic Entropy. who I call Harper Rose, and you got.
Chitose Multiverse.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Moment was first.
Yeah, Moment was first.
I got Harper for my birthday.
Oh.
Moment was first. I got Moment Cinnamon for and her name is Lady Camellia Frostthistle. She's an elf in disguise, usually known as Cammy. And you got
ADHD redirection. I got Chitose Multiverse, and her name is Luma Hoshino, and she is my little alien girl crashed to Earth. I had to come up with something to sort of like I had to have a story. That's what ended up making me choose her. Was coming up with some sort of story that connected me with her, and it was done after that.
I see. So what's it called? So for Sandy, I guess you kind of started, like you said, with the Barbies, then American Girl, and then transitioned into BJDs to Smart Doll. But for John, was Smart Doll your first venture into the doll hobby then?
Yeah, and it was it was certainly a weird thing to do in terms of and it was like, is it okay to have this interest? And it was, my interest was largely focused around photography and storytelling, and we even talked about, being both people with ADHD, about trying to use a doll as a body double, which is essentially having somebody to talk to and to like tell them what you're doing and help you stay sort of on track, and sort of a way to kind of keep you focused and motivated. And we experimented with it. It never quite worked out, but it was definitely interesting. Sometimes if I'm in the right place, I have a Smart Doll Ambition, and she will sit there next to my monitor staring disapprovingly at me. And it can help me. It can help be that like bossy person in the back of my head going, just stay at your computer, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Small Seams is saying that we are a little quiet compared to Shizusan.
That may be, maybe I turned on my microphone, might be too loud, or is my microphone too loud and it's overpowering their voices? Does anyone for chat know?
Probably just need to be louder. We can try and see what we can do here on our end.
I lowered my microphone just a little bit just to see if it's me that's overpowering or not.
Yeah, well, it's
possible.
On my end, Zoom is automatically adjusting the microphone volume. I can try. Let's bring this up a little bit more and see if that improves for everybody. So let's try that for a bit.
It's definitely louder on my end for sure.
Yeah,
I can tell the difference.
I took the auto off, and that should help. It may also cause more feedback because it's more sensitive to the audio. So let me know if you start getting. Yeah,
there's a little feedback on my end for sure, but it should be okay. I think maybe. We'll see. Let's see how.
Tell us.
Well, yeah, we'll wait for chat to say something. So I noticed something that you said when I asked you the question right off the bat was you said something about you weren't too sure in the beginning about, oh, should I be in this hobby, or is this the kind of like thing that I should be doing? And I feel like I kind of understand that because both being male, traditionally, I guess, like society doesn't normally see men playing with dolls or collecting dolls, which is kind of funny because people are like, oh, guys and dolls. But if you really think about it, way back like in the 50s, all the Migos were dolls. Like the G.I. Joes originally were dolls. Like they weren't like the plastic little figures that we have nowadays. So it's not like this is a new phenomenon.
It's just the label we put on it and the gender we assign to it.
Right. So like it's weird though, because now like when I started collecting, at least in the very beginning, I also had the same notion stuck in my head. I was like, oh, well, if I'm just collecting it in my home, no one's really going to know. It brings me happiness. I like it. But if I take it out or if I talk with friends about it, I don't know how they're going to react because I never really was into these things before. So it was an interesting turn of events for me. Most of my friends, actually, when I mentioned it, they weren't really surprised for some reason. they kind of were. They kind of were like, "Oh, well, that's Shizusan. That's just him. He just does weird things. It's, I guess, dolls is just the next thing on his list." Was it kind of like the same for you in a way, or was there like a big difference amongst your peers? I guess, or
I mean, I don't think that many. I mean, it was a slow reveal, I think, for me. And I mean, we moved out to Pittsburgh. We haven't really settled here. We don't really have many friends. The pandemic hit, like isolation. So, I mean, I have my most active friendships right now are with people from our community, who I talk to on a regular basis. My friends back home was a small, tight-knit group. And at some point, they knew, and I would share it with them in terms of, I never shared stuff like, hey, look at this doll I got. It's, look at this short film that I made with these, and look at these characters that I'm writing, and things like that. So
I mean, our close friends are like family. Like they're the chosen family at this point. And then we're also theater people. Like we both come from a background of working in theater, and that's a fairly open environment anyway. Lots of different types of people with lots of different kinds of interests, and people that are often on the outskirts anyway. So it's like, it's really not that bad.
No, I think my biggest issues are, public, going out, and it's been a slow process of going out and taking photos in public.
Yeah.
And we went on a trip to Connecticut, and went to a funeral, and then ended up staying and just having a few days to ourselves, so we don't get vacation much. And we ended up doing a whole photo shoot on the beach in Connecticut, and it was fine. It was always sort of in my back of my head, but like people were like interested in what was going on and what we were doing. And so I mean, I haven't been out again, but that's not for that reason. So I think it should be easier. But I know so many people in general, gender aside, it's hard to go out in public with dolls because of just how dolls are viewed in general.
Right. And that's my experience.
Miranda was the model, so I mean, that just overrides everything because she's phenomenal.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the reason why I asked John first is because I guess we kind of share that experience being males in the hobby. But I know that it's just because you're a female and you're collecting dolls. It could be the same thing too, because there's a different, I guess, kind of social standard. So for Sandy, was there any difference that you noticed when you started collecting dolls, and on how you felt or others felt about you?
I have always taken the stance of just being very outspoken about it. This is what I'm doing now. I would say my dive into taking them out in public would be to go to places like Joann's and Michael's, where you've got people who are crafty, and they'll ask like, what are you working on? And then like I introduce them to the channel, and I introduce them to like what these dolls are. I mean, I have a whole elevator speech for Smart Doll that I do. So it's like, it takes me out of being a mature woman collecting dolls and more into a hobbyist, but I just decided to just go for it. When I decided that I was openly collecting dolls, I'll talk about them wherever.
This is true.
And I'm very much the same way. Like, I'm very open about my dolls, tell everybody about it. I love talking about it. But I do have to admit, in the beginning, I was a little scared of like what people would say to me or think about, when they see me carrying these dolls around. And it was a learning process for me, a growing process. Like, I remember my first time taking a doll out in public. And I guess this is kind of my fault in a way, is I decided, for the first time I go out, I'll just go to New York City, the largest city, one of the largest cities in the world, with a huge diverse amount of people that are going to see me walking up and down the streets. Like, it's not like I walked around my hometown or my park where there's like a small amount of people where I can kind of ease into it. No, I just went into like this big city, and I remember I was so afraid, like, and I was always like, like that heightened state when you're walking around, you're always like kind of looking and your eyes are wandering, just seeing like, what are people thinking, because I have this doll on my shoulder, walking around. And surprisingly enough, it was like a mixed review in a way. Like I had a couple people looking, staring. You're always going to get that because, it's just not normal. Like people just don't see dolls every day, just, in public. But, I would say I have good half the people, I would say my first time out were like very inquisitive. Like, what is that? Oh, it's so beautiful, like tell me more. And that was really cool because it gave me a chance to open up to strangers about it that I never met and talk about something that I've fallen in love with. But then like you also have like the naysayers. My first time out, I didn't really have anything really bad per se. But you do have some awkward stares. I got a lot of awkward stares and a couple, as people are passing by me, I can hear like, off comments like, what is that? That's so creepy or something like that. But nothing like really confrontational. Like nobody ever came up to me and was like, ew, what are you doing? Like nothing like that. So I was kind of lucky in a way that nothing bad happened in that sense. But I've had instances like way after that where I've had people like actually really confront me about it in a negative way. But that's really far and few between. It doesn't happen a lot.
That.
I can't imagine why somebody would do that.
It was. I told this story before, but I haven't told you guys, so I guess I'll tell it now. I was doing a video on Let's Do Photography. If you look on my channel, there's like a Let's Do Photography thing where I took a picture by waterfalls. There's like this very like big waterfalls over here in New Jersey, but it just so happens that the waterfalls, which is really weird, is in the inner city. Like it's not like in a rural, like it's in the smack dab in the city, which I thought was weird. But I was in there and I was taking pictures, and because it's the city, you have like a lot of people from all different kinds of walks of life. And I remember I was setting up my dolls next to the waterfall to take a picture, and I set up my camera behind me to kind of record me setting up, like the process of setting up. And a group of guys came by, like it was maybe like 5 or 6 of them, I think. And they're all like around like teenage to 20s kind of years, like maybe like that, like 17 to 20-ish kind of years. And like they're coming by and, being rowdy just amongst themselves, like not towards me. They're just, whatever. And then they noticed me. And I was just like, I'm like setting up and I'm like, oh my God, I hope they don't say anything. And like, they came over, which is exactly what I didn't want them to do. They were coming by and they were like, started saying like things to me, and they were like, oh, what is that? Oh, little boy want to play with his dollies, like things like that, like not nice comments. And then they kicked my camera over and my camera fell and like hit the ground, and they started laughing and then they ran away. And I was just like, wow, that really sucks. But luckily the camera wasn't really damaged. It just got really dirty. I was very lucky about that. It did stop filming. But luckily they only hit the camera and not the dolls. I was more scared that they were going to come by and maybe like push me over, and then I would accidentally like knock the dolls into the waterfall. Like, but
that's
yeah,
people that definitely had a problem of their own to begin with.
Yeah,
those are some bullies.
And like I said, it's not something that happens all the time when you take your dolls out. That's just like the extreme of bad that's actually happened to me. But
I like though, when faced with possible assault, your first thing was to worry about the doll.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you know what it is? It's not only like that like daddy complex or mommy complex where you're like, I gotta protect the children. Because not only the dolls are expensive, but they're also like quite rare depending on which ones you have. It may be hard to get them again at some point. Right. The camera I can always rebuy. Like the camera is very expensive too, but the camera's not like sold out to the point where it's like, oh man, I can never get that
one.
Yeah, I'll just get a better camera, But like the doll, I may not be able to get this doll again if I lose it. So it's like I gotta protect the kids. So like I was just kind of like
new kidneys, whatever.
I was like, let me just protect them, like whatever with the camera equipment. I could always get another one.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean that's I always say this, like that's just doll life. You take the good with the bad, and that's life in general. Like with any hobby, no matter what you do, There's always going to be
Mhm.
people that are for it and people that are against it. So, you just take what you get. But that was just, one of my instances of like a not good experience with people and dolls. But it's not like something that deterred me from collecting dolls. It was just an unfortunate experience that happened. Or
Oh,
unfortunate
see that
incident.
story alone, I'm staying inside for the next year.
No. You got to be brave. You got to go out and spend time with your dolls and spread that doll love.
I mean, that was obviously a real experience, but I mean, a lot of times I think what we get in our heads is what we think people are thinking,
Yep.
and it's not necessarily what they're thinking. Like I said
Mhm.
to John, I actually had the last time I had to go to the eye doctor, I had Hero, our survivor, with me,
Okay.
and she was like tucked into my arm. And I'm walking down the street and I'm thinking, sure, some people might be looking and going, why is that woman walking down the street with a doll? But other people could be thinking, oh, maybe her, her niece left their doll at her house and they're going to the apartment or something.
Right.
And people don't know what you're doing if
Yeah.
they even care.
Yeah, they
You
have
know?
no idea. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I could be walking and I just purchased it as a gift or something. I'm about to give it to somebody. Who knows? Like people don't know really. I mean, it's exactly like you said. Like sometimes you just get it into your head that you think like these, individuals around you are thinking this, but in all honesty, they probably aren't. They're probably just going on with their day like, oh, I need to get 2 cartons of eggs, so don't forget that, or something like that. You know what I mean? They're just going on with their own lives.
I mean,
But
look at
yeah,
Danny. He takes his dolls everywhere.
he does. He
Yeah.
does, and he's like one of the pioneers for that, I would say, because
Well, I mean, I forget what video, but there's video out there of him somewhere talking to somebody about like that men are going to be carrying a lot more dolls. I think it was like around the release of Smart Doll that like.
I'm sorry, my
and
eyes
that,
are like bothering me.
that we're gonna be the pioneers of men and dolls. And I think I'd love to see like data, but not that exists. But I'm sure he has made a sizable impact on the amount of men and carrying dolls.
I think so too. But I think also there must have been a lot of men that were collecting dolls in general before then, because I mean, when Dolphy Dream first came out, I'm assuming there were a lot of men in the hobby, but they weren't like, I guess you could say, like as open as Danny was, like walking around with the dolls. Maybe they have it in their collections at home, or they talk to friends about it, but not really like out in public kind of thing. I kind of feel like Danny, at least to me, was the first exposure of dolls, for lack of a better word, is like out in the wild, so to speak. Like just taking them to the stores, walking them around the
Right.
streets, taking them to business meetings. I mean, you guys follow Danny as much as I do. I mean, you must have seen the pictures he's posted where he goes to cabinet meetings for the Japan Travel Association, and he has his dolls with him. Like he just brings them pretty much everywhere he goes. He's like the ambassador of doll, I would think.
I got to assume, like at the very least, not that this like alone would help the issue, but it's like I imagine Danny quickly became Danny the doll guy. Like it's like you do it so consistently and you're so committed and passionate about it, and you're just like, this is life. Deal with it.
Dolls in Japan are they're different than they are here too. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody thinks it's cool to have dolls there, but I mean, there's a tradition behind it.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's definitely a big fan base in Japan. Obviously dolls didn't start in Japan solely, but the aesthetic, I guess you could say, of the anime vinyl doll definitely started there. I at least I would like to bet a bottom dollar on that. But I also think another thing that's interesting about Danny, which is weird, we're on this whole Danny tangent, but the interesting thing I think about Danny was that he was in a way like one of the earliest, if not the first, ambassadors of anime to Westerners. Like anime has always been around, and obviously it was around in the West, and that's how Danny found out about it when he was in Britain. But when he came over to Japan and then started doing like his Culture Japan show, his Japan Mode show, and then just talking about anime, in English and broadcasting it on YouTube, like in English, and writing articles about it. He was like one of the first people to try to like popularize it in the beginning. And I know that a lot of people I talk to, always say, like when I mention Danny Chun, they're like, oh, he's the anime guy, right? Because that's how a lot of people in anime kind of remember him. But nowadays, it's like you said, now he's kind of like, it's kind of evolved, and now he's like the doll guy, because now he's like all into smart doll and everything dolls. So it's almost like he's like a first of two different things, which is kind of incredible for one person.
Yeah, well, and one of those is a mashup of the two. So
yeah. Definitely.
yeah, that's very cool.
But so yeah, we were talking about your origin stories and how you got into dolls, and you've already explained that. So how did it evolve though, from going to smart doll collectors to wanting to be like, hey, I want to do dolls on YouTube? Like I know you mentioned earlier in today's episode, you said that you started a YouTube channel, but how did it become YouTube and dolls for you?
It was the same time.
Yeah, it was, the dolls came. We decided that John would make an on-camera appearance because we were going to unbox 2 of the dolls, and we both basically said we both want to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like neither one of us, like I was doing some acting once we moved to Pittsburgh, but it wasn't a regular thing. And of course there was the pandemic, so nobody was doing much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided, well, John was like, I can use these for photography, and we wanted to build sets and we wanted to build costumes. And so we've started doing some of that. But it just kind of got more into, dang, we really like these dolls, and just,
well, I mean, it was even earlier than that. It was the purchase. Starting a channel was part of the purchase, like from the beginning. And that's because we spent a week pounding YouTube, watching tons of video, and basically did a massive market analysis. Like we watched not only the content for education, of us, but we also watched what everyone was doing, what type of content people were making, how is it being presented. And we had this channel that existed already, and I instantly started to make the connection in my head of, all right, this is a creative outlet for me. I can do production work for it. I can do photography, video editing, and have, a fun time, doing stuff that I don't get a chance to do much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I'm so inspired by these dolls, like all the time. I mean, and the opportunities of what you can do with them are practically limitless.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to be able to think outside the box and come up with, what you want to do. But I think that we just saw it as an opportunity, like a wide open opportunity to be creative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's for the most part, that's exactly what YouTube is for everybody, to show their creative talents, to the world, whether it's dolls or video games or what have you, that you want to do. So I think that's pretty interesting. So in starting a YouTube channel, when you decided to do so, there's a couple things. As a fellow YouTuber myself, in order to start a YouTube channel, there's so many things that you have to think about before you even like start doling out videos. And some may argue that, just dole out videos and just have it go. And then others would argue maybe you should prepare, on different things and stuff like that. So first thing I want to tackle for you guys in general is that, how did you decide on, for your YouTube channel, like the theme of your channel? Was it like, oh, we're going to be specifically smart doll, or we're going to be dolls in general? Like, how did you establish like the theme of it, like the look and the feel of it? Like for me, when I started, I had to figure out, what I wanted to do, which was dolls. It wasn't particularly smart doll. I like, at the time, both Dolphy Dream and Smart Doll. So those were my 2 main things that I wanted to talk about. But then I thought, well, most YouTube channels have like a small little icon. And then, if you go to their channel pages, they have like a banner, things like that. Some people have mascots. So I was like, oh, if I'm really going to start this, I need something, to really establish like who I am, so that when people see my channel, they're like, oh, that's Shizusan. Like that's his his emblem or his symbol, or that's his channel banner, or etc. So how did you decide what the theme of your channel was going to look like, I guess?
Well, it started off as, like I said, it started off as My Lady Disdain, as I briefly mentioned, and my idea of being feminine and sewing, and my favorite color palettes are basically pink, black, gold, and white.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was based around me, and it was a reflection of me and my attitudes about things.
Did we do all of the graphics before Smart Doll?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a designer by trade,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not actually design our branding. I refused to. And largely because A, I was really busy, but B, I wanted her to just work with somebody and express what she needed and maybe get a couple of different options. So we used Fiverr.
No, it wasn't Fiverr. It was a different service like
A
that.
Fiverr, similar to it.
I forget what the service was, but I went through putting up just like a portfolio of different images and things like that that inspired me, that I wanted to see the branding look like. And then I put a description up, and I just started getting logo ideas from all over the world. Different people that were at home. In fact, it wasn't who I ended up with, but one of my top contenders was in Italy, when Italy was completely you cannot leave your home. During that period where it was really, really, really bad.
Right when people were singing out the windows.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I didn't end up going with them, but yeah, it was really interesting too, because I ended up talking to that person a little bit and being like, well, I hope that you stay safe, because it was just so weird. But yeah, so that's basically how we got the color palette and the logo. I started off with an idea of fans and flowers. Hand fans, folding hand fans are my favorite prop in the entire world as an actor. And I really wanted to incorporate fans, but then it ended up going to flowers. So we have the flower and the needle.
We have the rose and the needle.
Right,
And the needle in My Lady Disdain. And then recently, we had Katie Moore, who is So.Spice on Instagram, designed our avatars. She had done some face up work for us, and we asked her to make the John and Sandy avatars. So our branding is still based off of the same thing, but it's evolving.
Yeah, it's taking on. I mean, especially because of some of the things that we've done in our videos, we're starting to take on, and also because we're watching a ton of it, we're starting to take on more anime elements. And so we actually, I think the brief for Katie for the avatars was to design avatars in the vein of the closing animation to My Dress Up Darling.
That's cool.
Ragdoll looking kind of characters. I'm actually wearing my Though She Be But Little, She Is Squee shirt.
Oh yeah, the Squee shirt.
And you can basically see John's picture behind his head, and mine is back in the distance as well.
Yeah, so I mean the image is something that didn't exactly change when we hit Smart Doll, because it was still her aesthetics haven't changed. The sewing the sewing focus sort of changed, but the intent didn't change. So yeah, we're slowly bringing it forward, and we're adding in the avatars, and and that's forcing me to create new I created a whole new intro. We created new transitions, and trying to make everything feel connected.
Right. And do you find yourselves as, which I kind of wanted to delve into this too, is that being YouTubers, one of the things I think is really interesting about your channel is the dynamic between the two of you. There's actually two people on screen giving, differences of opinions and bouncing ideas back and forth. And I think that's what really makes your channel so unique is that perspective from two different people, and the commentary back and forth. But the reason why I bring that up is that since you started your channel before you got into dolls and you called it My Lady Disdain, in the process of evolution, as you're saying that your channel's going through, is there a possibility that the name might change because there is two of you? It's not just My Lady Disdain, or will the logo
My
evolve?
Lady Disdain.
Oh, okay. Is that how
works.
it's supposed to?
She is My Lady Disdain.
That line actually is Beatrice's past lover, Benedict comes in,
Mhm.
and he sees her for the first time in a long time after coming back from the wars, and says, what, my dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?
Mhm.
Right? So, it really is. It's him saying, My Lady Disdain. To me, it's...
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's why, even along the same lines, we have multiple. This is probably our second artist rendition of us. I have a drawing that a cartoonist out of Halifax,
Mhm.
a friend of mine, did for us, of us dating, of us standing at a bar clinking martini glasses with each other, and I'm holding a flail behind my back and she's holding daggers behind her. Like, we always like to play, because we had a very rocky start to our relationship, but we always like to play at the relationship. And that's why with the avatars, there's two versions of the avatars. There's me begging on my knees and Sandy looking rather disdainful, and me holding up a doll and everything's great. Everything, Sandy's going crazy. So telling that story of the relationship between us and how dolls, play into that and us as a couple. So it still works.
Mhm.
It might need a little bit of explaining, perhaps. So maybe it's not the strongest brand if you were going to go ridiculously huge or something,
Mhm.
but
everybody's starting to know us now, so if they know us as My Lady Disdain, then that's what it is,
The Discord is called the Court of Disdain. It's not going anywhere at this point unless something major happens.
Right. We've got our whole thing. We always induct our dolls, and when you unbox a doll and they have a name, we induct them into the court. It's and then we consider everybody in our Discord a member of the court.
That was one of the things that we decided early on. It was one of the ways. I mean, it was a deliberate choice on our part to do those types of segments, because I wanted to create ritual within it. And that's why, even on things like the Smart Doll News and that we run, you create segments that you want to do on a regular basis, or little things that people can get excited for. And that just adds to your brand. I mean, that's all part of it.
Right. And like I said before, I think that's what makes your channel really unique, is having the two of you on there, giving not necessarily differences of opinions, but you give two sides, to a topic, rather than, other doll YouTubers like myself, or, Magical Girl Kit Kat or Lovely Day, where they're solo YouTubers, all very good YouTubers. I love watching their stuff, but your channel gives that dynamic, that extra kick, which I think is really cool, and it's very how should I say, helpful to the doll community to see two sides on a certain topic at the same time, though. You know what I mean? You could get other people's point of views by watching different channels, but in your channel, you get different points of views in one shot, kind of thing.
And we also tend to we definitely don't agree.
We don't agree about everything, and we actually have different taste about a lot of things.
Yeah. Right.
I'm very much curves and lace and flowers and stuff like that, and he is much more by nature straight lines, geometry.
Not so much anymore, but
over time, we've been married over 16 years, so over time we've kind of rubbed off on each other.
I say while I'm wearing a striped shirt.
We've kind of rubbed off on each other and absorbed a little bit of each other's styles, while still retaining our own identity. And I think there aren't that many of us that are married couples doing this.
Oh, well, that was the other thing I was going to mention. I think, and I definitely appreciate hearing that from you, Shizusan. I think I hope there's another aspect to it. I imagine that I like to be an ambassador of, like, you know, dolls and healthy relationships. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
of I think it's good, and I think it's exciting for people to see, because I know there are channels that I watch that have a couple, and it has this impact on me. I love watching a good couple, a partnership,
Mhm.
perform together and to enjoy things together, and to have that casual, comfortable, knowing banter that happens between a couple.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what you see is what you get. This is our conversation, like, all day long.
Yeah.
We don't fight.
Mhm.
We definitely have differences of opinion about stupid things, but we do not fight at all. We're friends, and we enjoy this hobby together. It brings us together as a couple even more.
Yep.
We always have been told by people that we are more powerful together.
Mhm.
Like, and so we just said, well, let's keep doing that. I mean, like, right before we moved to Pennsylvania and started doing this, we started a community theater in Whitehall, New York, and put together a cast of 17 and did Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing on a
Midsummer.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I said Much Ado About Nothing.
Conflating
Yeah.
the two, yeah.
Yeah, I did Midsummer Night's Dream on a tiny budget.
Mhm.
Built all the costumes. I directed. He produced, did all the video publicity, and starred in it
on $1,000 crowdsource budget in the middle of, like, nowhere, upstate New York. It was like, we actually managed to get people to put together $1,000 for us to put on free Shakespeare in the Park, which is like,
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, I was shocked that anybody cared at all up there, but
Mhm.
it actually worked. So for us, we know where our talents lie. I tend to be on the production side, and I'm the problem solver.
Mhm.
I'm the problem maker.
Yeah.
You're pointer outer.
Yeah. So we do pretty well.
You kind of took away the question I was going to ask about, the dynamic between you two being a couple. Like, does that interfere with your relationship being in the same hobby kind of thing? And you answered it beautifully. Like, for me, it's different because my wife, obviously loves me and supports me for what I do, but she's definitely not into the whole doll scene. So it's not like I could talk to her about it and be like, hey, check this out. This is awesome. Like, I mean, I could go like, look at this new thing I bought. It's so awesome. It looks beautiful on this doll, right? And she's just like, yeah, it looks nice. And then she's like, how much did it cost? I'm like, yeah, about that. It's not that much. Not that much.
That could be its own problem, right? Like, we're both enablers.
Yeah.
But she's always supporting
me. I sat
me.
there in front of you ordering from Volks, like, didn't even say, hey, John, I'm going to order this stuff from Volks. I just did it. It's funny how we went from, should we buy 2 dolls, a couple of years ago, like, just going into this big debate over whether we were going to buy our first 2 dolls, and how much the perspective on how much things cost changes once you enter this hobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what you are willing to spend money on versus what you're not.
Yeah, it definitely changes from the beginning of the hobby to, like, I guess where we are presently. Like, the way we spent money and looked at things is totally different.
Yeah, it's, it's weird. Well, it's also weird now being in a world where we started off, it was like $550 for a doll, and now it's, what are we at now? 3 something?
Yeah, they're like $360 at the moment.
Like, that's insanity to me.
Yeah, it's just the conversion rate is just very much so in our favor. At least here in the United States. I don't know anywhere else in the world if it's also in their favor, but we definitely save money right now.
Yeah. But then, and it's like, it's weird going, as we've looked, because we've done to try and broaden our horizons and, broaden our audience. We've done videos looking at some of the more Playline dolls, you know, like the Rainbow High and things like that.
The Monster High Haute Couture, which we still have one doll that we haven't unboxed.
Well, yeah, there's a Shadow High back there too, or a
Two of
couple
them.
things. Yeah.
We got a couple of questions here. As we're talking about developing of the channel, John Dean wants to know if Smart Doll News was part of the plan from the beginning.
Oh, because back when we were talking about like starting up and what we intended, Smart Doll News was not in the cards. Not really.
No, I mean, actually, and we actually had told Shizusan this before we started this. We actually got part of the idea, partially was from him, because we were watching your old Doll Symposium videos, and what would happen would be, you would put up a picture and you would mention what, a thought on something, and we would pause the video and talk about that one topic for 20 minutes. Or go looking for more info on it. And we kind of looked at each other and went, we could do this, and he's putting out so much stuff. Danny is putting out info all the time.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do Smart Doll, and we'll do it every week?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly when the decision happened. It took a little bit because setting up for live streaming and things like that, and getting equipment and figuring it all out. But it's been a little over a year now since we started the news, and that was, I think, one of the big key differences for us and why we started it was not only because we wanted to have that conversation, but we also wanted live streaming for just building a community and being able to talk directly to all these people. Because I mean, most of these people, we all know each other. We're on Facebook together. We're, like we regularly talk. So getting to do it and instead of having someone posts, hey, Danny posted this thing, and you get 4 comments. I just wanted to get it all together and just have a big conversation about what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, you definitely notice
crazy.
You definitely notice certain people. Like, I'll watch your videos and I'll read the comment section just as much as I read my own. Same thing with other doll YouTubers. I read their comment sections because I want to see what everybody else is talking about. And you start noticing names like, oh, this person comments on my videos too, and they also comment on My Lady Disdain, and they also comment on Magical Kit Kat Girls, etc., etc., etc. So you start noticing names, and then you put 2 and 2 together, and sometimes the names are the same ones that you see in Discord or Facebook's groups as well. So you are building that familiarity with the community, even though we're all miles apart, so to speak.
Yeah. And we do collabs and stuff together, and then we become friends. Magical Girl Kit Kat and I have become really good friends. And and then by association, also the 4 of us, Ben and John, and have become friends, and we're all friends together. And so our channels have also become like families too, where we're constantly throwing back to each other in our videos.
Right.
So,
well, I used to do podcasting back in the early 2000s. And at that point, and that was before podcasting got gigantic,
right?
But the sort of tactic and philosophy that I had then is the same one I always came to YouTube which is there's no such thing as competition. You are only in competition with yourself on YouTube, and always trying to do a better version of what you can do next time, and creating as much opportunity for us to connect with other channels, for us to make friends, to be creative together, and or even encourage more people to make their own YouTube channels. The more people who are making doll content, the better we are as a community.
Definitely. And I know I told the 2 of you before, when we were speaking before, but the audience doesn't know, is that my channel also didn't start out as news. That's something that just kind of evolved and came to be at a certain point. But kind of pegging off of that conversation is that when I was doing the news, I was doing it every single week for quite a few years. I think it was like 4, maybe 5 years. I was doing it straight every single week. I mean, there were weeks where I took a holiday off or something like that, or I was sick, but for the most part, it was every week. And then I just got like super burnt out and I needed to take a break. And
this uploaded videos or live streams? I can't remember.
These were uploaded videos. I didn't start live streaming until very recently.
How much editing did you do on them?
In the beginning, a lot. The beginning, a lot. Like, because I would have to memorize everything I was going to say for the news and then like talk to the camera and say, hey, this is coming out, blah, blah, this and that. And then I'd be like, oh, what was that? I can't remember. And then I was like, I know you can edit it, but I wanted it to feel more free-flowing and natural. So then I was like, all right, let's just start over. I'm going to start over from the very beginning. So we're going to start on the first news topic and then just keep going to where I left off. And like, I remember there would be like 20 iterations of that before I actually got it right. And back then it was not as long as you would think because my segment was 3 Minute Thursday. So it had to be 3 minutes long. So if I screwed up, it may have been a minute and a half in. And then like I screw up, I got to start again. But then it started getting to the point where like it got longer and longer and 3 Minute Thursdays didn't make any sense anymore because the videos were like half an hour long to 45 minutes long. So I had to change it to the doll symposium and give it a whole new format. But when I did take that break, because I got burnt out, that was the time that I spent more time with my family, spent more time just on myself, like getting my health back together because I was just super, super burnt out. But during that time frame, that's when I noticed there's so many more doll YouTubers. Because what people may not know, or maybe they do, maybe they don't, but what people may not know is when you have your own YouTube channel and you're trying to be creative and you're trying to burst out content, you don't necessarily have time to watch other people's stuff because you're always working on yours. Like I was always focused on, okay, what am I going to do with this next video? Okay, let's plan for it. Let's research it. Let's get things together, blah, blah, blah. And I'm always working on it. So I never really watched any other YouTube to see what was going on. And when I took that break, I discovered so many channels, like a wealth of doll channels. Like I feel like from when I started in the very beginning, having 1 or 2 YouTubers I follow a lot, to now there's like a plethora of them. Is just so cool. Like, and it's like you said, growing this community and making it bigger is only better for it. And I totally agree. And that's how I found your channel, Kit Kat's channel, Lovely Day's channel, Munekas Pupas's channel. There's so many other YouTubers out there. And then there's also like one-offs. Like there may be individuals out there that don't have a channel where they focus on dolls and put out videos all the time, but I'm seeing more and more like unboxing videos or clothing haul videos where people are just, one-offs, just trying to share, their new experience, which is fine. But there was none of that like before, like in that quantity. Like usually I'd find like maybe when I first started, like maybe 10 unboxing videos, at least for anime dolls. There was a ton for resin, but for like anime dolls, there wasn't much. Like clothing videos, there really wasn't much. And nowadays you just have to type in on YouTube, Dolphy Dream or Smart Doll. And then you'll get like a laundry list of things that come up, which is so cool.
And yet, I still believe it's very small.
It is a niche community.
Like it's a niche within a niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm still marvel at like, I pay attention to our numbers, how many views, engagement, all of that stuff, just continually trying to understand, how we're doing in terms of like compared to previous weeks or what things we're trying, how they're affecting us. But we're also checking out other channels, and largely it's like you can see big channels. You can see big channels that are not doll related. I just got a smart doll. Check out this video.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets like a tenth of their normal views. Now, a tenth of their normal views is still gigantic compared to anything that we ever see. But if you look at the actual core channels out there and how many like people are watching Smart Doll on the content on a regular basis, there's so much room to grow, especially if you consider the greater doll community.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, one of the things that we have yet to nail down, but are definitely working on, is getting more new to smart doll content out there, getting more like finding more ways, more videos that people completely new to smart doll are going to be able to stumble upon, versus needing, be like the people who are searching smart doll news. I mean, for the most part, it's people are searching smart doll, like it's and they're looking at it every week. And very, it's not a growth type of video for us. It's community building.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at channels, like if you go to if we go into our stats and we look at people who watch your channel also watch.
Yeah.
It's My Froggy Stuff, The Doll Fairy, Muñecas Pupe Dolls. I mean, like, and what those channels are is they are channels that do a lot of different things, not predominantly smart doll, but they also happen to do some smart doll content. Whereas we, and you do Volks mostly, but I mean, like, we are channels that focus on those dolls, or focus on those dolls and dabble in the Playline dolls.
Yeah,
you know, so it's basically like the way we are getting people is by, it's like, what's the phrase that I always get wrong? A rising tide
it raises all ships,
right? It lifts all ships, or something like that. The people who watch My Froggy Stuff and watch her for the Barbies, she says, hey, look at these smart dolls that I got. Well, now people are like, I want to know stuff about smart doll. And then they find us, or they find you, or they find Kat, so it's like a totally different perspective. We are a niche within a niche. I think if the BJD community was 100% on board with smart doll and Volks, the vinyl dolls, I think it would be bigger. But I don't think everybody in the BJD, there's a lot of people in the BJD community that are like, smart doll, Dolphy Dream, etc. Those are not BJDs.
Right. There are some individuals that are like that as well. Yeah. But to piggyback off of what John said too, which is channels that are not predominantly about smart dolls or Dolphy Dreams, like doing like a one-off, kind of bringing attention to it. One example I just wanted to talk about was for those of individuals that know me, I'm like a big Sailor Moon fan because I kind of grew up with it. It was like one of the first animes I've seen when I was a kid. And there's this one YouTuber that I follow, Ochipa Wolf, and she like does everything like Sailor Moon related. I remember when she posted her first video when she got her first Dolphy Dream Sailor Moon, and like that got like a lot of people's attention in her channel that otherwise don't collect dolls at all. Like they're seeing like this Sailor Moon doll, and then I don't know how she got it, because she's very lucky, but she got all the Sailor Scouts. She was managed to find all of them and get them all. So she did an unboxing for every single Sailor Scout, and each video got cumulatively more and more and more views because people that were into Sailor Moon, that weren't into the doll hobby, all of a sudden found it, and they were like, oh, this is cool. I want to find more like it. So yeah, so you're absolutely right. Like channels like that don't specifically target smart doll or Dolphy Dream or anime dolls in general, sometimes when they throw out like a bone like that, it gains more interest into our small niche within a niche.
Yeah, I don't know how to capture that. I don't, like, I've seen those things, but it doesn't seem like it grows. I mean, not that it's easy to tell, but like, how do you tell whether it actually grows the community and how many people ended up, really becoming interested in smart doll? There's another example who is in our Discord. I think they're in a Discord.
Nefertiti?
No. Has a channel and just recently started like converting over to doing stuff in smart doll. Was a musician.
Oh, what is his name? AJ? No.
Is he Korean or?
Oh, yes. I'm gonna have to look now because I can't.
I'm sorry.
Check the Discord.
I am sorry. I am sorry to.
I want to make sure I get his stuff right. So
I'm sorry for forgetting your name.
and putting it on me so it looks like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, because neither of us do. I will fully admit that. She's gonna find it. But I mean, another example of somebody who has but dived headlong in and actually started making multiple videos, which was surprising. And it was great to see somebody not just create,
Mhm.
a one-off video. And here's the thing I got.
Jed, I think I'm not sure if it's Medea or Medela. He's in the Philippines. Smart Medela family, Madela.
Mm.
He's a musician and stuff, and he started getting in. He's been a fan of Danny Chu for a long time, and recently started getting into Smart Doll, and he has just gone nuts on it. But he already had a channel with well over 100,000 subscribers.
Mm.
So sorry, and sorry for the nationality. It was the best thing that came to mind. I was like, I don't know how to describe this any other way.
Because you're trying to think of it on the spot, kind of thing.
I just, and it's been so long, it just came up to me, and it's so late. Yeah, no, lots of there's. I wish I could see the impact. I mean, I think it's growing. It's just, I will say this. I've done so much research and continue to do research on how to be better at making a YouTube channel, right? And how to grow your YouTube channel. And there's a lot of faster ways to grow a channel. As long as you're not building, as long as it exists, as long as your niche exists already, and you can sort of latch on to what other people do and do it differently and do it better and get into the sort of audience umbrella that exists already for that thing. And then YouTube algorithm is feeding your stuff to a bunch of people.
Right.
That umbrella is very small, from what I can tell.
It's a little tiny umbrella.
So I think no matter what we've tried, at least, except for occasional things like cross-pollinating over to something like Rainbow High or whatever, we basically have to be in it for the long haul. We have to, it is knowing that we and all of the other channels are pushing this niche wider and bigger bit by bit. And I'm not sure there's much we can do to speed it up, other than, I don't know. I mean, a lot more collaboration.
If the community really latches onto Smart Doll, I think it's going to get a lot bigger, because sewing, historical costuming, etc., is really big on YouTube, and I think that if that starts to happen, I think that we will see the community start to get a lot bigger.
Yeah, I just don't know how much the anime styling is a turnoff and to that audience. I just wonder how much crossover is it, and do they is part of the BJD and I'll just say Smart Doll split it's vinyl, it's not a real BJD, or is it partly the anime? Because they're two very it's very European on the BJD side versus Asian, as far as aesthetics. So I don't know if there's I don't know. I see a lot of gaps that I can't bridge easily, and always looking for ways to do it. But I think I'm resigning myself to it's going to be the slow climb for all of us.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because that was actually going to be the next topic I was going to ask you guys was how do you choose your topics, for your YouTube channel? And we kind of already delved into that and how you did that. But for me, it's like I said, I never intended on doing the news in the beginning. It was more so unboxing video is how I started, which I know a lot of YouTubers in general, when they do products or collectibles, it's always unboxing videos that people start with. And then I kind of went to informational videos, where I tried to start a segment that was called Doll Life, where it was just me talking about different kinds of dolls and how to buy dolls and reviewing different aspects of dolls. And I put some of my YouTube interviews in there as well, but it didn't really take off as what I wanted it to. So I kind of forced myself to put out more content more regularly, and that's what became the news channel. So I started doing my news stuff. But like you mentioned earlier in the video, your channels evolve at some point. So I kind of branched out from that to doing, let's do photography videos, which didn't take off very well. Nobody really watched that one. So I stopped doing it. But then I started doing, what's it called? Let's travel videos. And what's inspired me to do that, honestly, is what inspired, I think, a lot of YouTube people in a certain generation of YouTube watchers was Casey Neistat. So Casey Neistat used to, do his videos of just around New York, just him going around New York or going around the world and just like his day-to-day living and things like that. And I was like, that's really cool. I think I could do that with dolls because I go around and I travel to conventions and I travel to different cities. I could just do it with me taking my dolls around. And I actually really enjoy doing Less Travels videos. It's a lot of fun for me, like going out in public with them and editing the videos and making it seem kind of cinematic to my amateurish editing skills. But I really enjoy doing them. They're probably my most favorite videos to do. But again, they also don't get as many views as anything else I have on my channels, like unboxing videos or the news. But I still like doing them. And then my channel for me grew and evolved again because I had to change my news channel, like I said earlier, from 3 minutes to something that didn't tie me down to a certain time frame. And that became the Doll Symposium. And then the Doll Symposium, within itself, I added not just the news, but I added my own opinions where I didn't do that before. And then not only did I have my own opinions, I also added a community shout out section, which every now and then individuals from the community will send in submissions to, be featured on the episode, which is always a lot of fun. But there was something that I always wanted to do, which is I'm doing now, is live. I always wanted to go live, to be able to interact with the audience, in real time, so to speak. But not only that, I also wanted to give back to the community in ways that me, myself, as a content creator, can't provide. And that's by having guests. And it's so awesome to have all the guests that I have, including the two of you. But it's like, I can give you all the perspective in the world from my point of view, which is just collecting dolls and doing the news. But what I wanted to bring in this new segment for Beyond the Doll is to give individuals that watch my channel another point of view, whether it's face-up artists, other YouTubers, clothing designers. Like, I want other voices to be heard, and I wanted to also make friends and meet new people. And that's kind of what Beyond the Doll has become, and it's my next step of evolution in my YouTube career, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, but it wasn't, the funny thing wasn't, I didn't do it because I felt it was going to be good for my channel per se. And I didn't really do it because I thought it was following like a specific trend to get into the algorithm or anything like that. It was more so very basic of just me talking about dolls with other people and making new friends. That's really what it all boiled down to. That's why most of my stuff it's not as flashy as other YouTube channels. Like my thumbnails, I really should put more effort into because that's what the algorithm likes. Same thing with titles, but I don't really concentrate on that because it's just the content. And sure, some of that content will get lost because I don't follow the algorithm. So it's not, advertising my content out as best as it would if I did follow the algorithm. But I just kind of wanted, at least my channel, at least specifically for me, I just wanted to do something that just really interested me in a selfish way, where I just want to talk and make friends. And that's really like all it was. I don't really know if it's going to take off or if it's going to be, good or bad. Like, I have no idea, but I'm just going to keep doing it until I just feel like it's not working anymore, I guess.
Well, you can't really, I mean, to some extent, you can't really know it's not working until you do a bunch of it.
Right.
Like, you got to give yourself time no matter what. I would say to some extent, I mean, I'm sure there's other reasons why, and I totally get it, but we've thought about, like you mentioned, photography videos, and
Mhm.
it just didn't really get that many views. And I would say, if that's what you want to do, don't give up so easily on it, right? Like, keep doing it. If this is what you want to do, figure out how to make it grow, figure out how to do it better, how to, maybe it is starting investing some time in thumbnails because, hey, I think I've got a good show here. I've just got to get more people to click on it.
Oh, maybe
Um,
I misspoke. When I was doing the photography thing, that was my attempt at trying to see if I could follow the algorithm
Sure.
and get
Yeah,
into it.
but that's why I said specifically, if it's what you want to do, like
Yeah.
if if you're, but even with, if you're trying, all I'm saying is, like, whatever you're doing, you've got to, in general, on the channel, you got to be doing it for a little bit,
Yeah.
and before you can really know.
I think some things that we've tried in the beginning, like they weren't as popular, but then as new people came on board, they'd start watching those videos, and then they go, "When are you going to do another video of this?"
People love our naming videos. We decided, we love naming dolls. We decided we would start presenting, like, these are naming ideas for this particular doll. They do not get very many views, and this is the important part, they're high effort to create. And so we ended up, people asked, are you going to do some more? And for the most part, the answer is no, unless, like, we really, like, are feeling it, like we decided we needed to do it. But there's a balance we have to strike between giving our core audience, essentially the people who watch our live streams every single week, some of them are here, to give those audience members what they want, and to also give new people what they want, and to try and balance. And that's the kind of what you know we're kind of moving back towards. We've been in a place the past number of months, where we've just been focusing on keeping it going, do the live stream every week, and get out a video when we can. And as we're ramping back up, it's time to look at, what do people really want to see? What are they asking about? And specifically, like, new people.
And what are we excited about? And where do those two things meet?
Right.
And similarly, on the side of, I will say this, one of the things that we have had in mind from the beginning is storytelling. And it is something that does not get, I mean, we did a whole collab where we did a massive, like, 5-minute short film with Smart Dolls. And I mean, I think it's pretty freaking impressive. And it got nothing. It got very, very little views in comparison to anything else.
It was a collab with 2 other channels too, and it still didn't get a ton of views.
So my goal is to slowly build an audience that likes the storytelling, and essentially revisit that, and hone our skills. So one of the goals that I set for myself early this year was to start doing cinematic trailers for our unboxings, because that would give me, like, we're talking 30 seconds, minute top, of doing a short little movie displaying the doll in all its glory in a diorama or something, digital compositing, and just using it to go, what are the skills that I think I'm going to be able to need to do like a larger movie,
Right.
And just work on it in that, and use it also hopefully I was like, I'm just gonna, we even had arguments over this. I'm like, I'm just gonna start putting them at the beginning. And she's like, but you're blowing the whole thing. Like,
you're doing the big reveal at the beginning.
and I was like, yeah, but if people don't watch, I'm like, we're dropping off. Like, people are dropping off the videos, like down to 30% after the first like 10, 15, 30 seconds or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, when I put the trailer up, we went from 30% up to like 50 or 60, and then and it took longer for them to
Right.
drop off. So
yeah, a lot of YouTubers say that too. Like when you watch other YouTubers that have like tutorials or tips, on growing your channel, a lot of them say that the first 30 seconds of your videos is pretty much what makes or breaks it.
Yep.
For at least for your video to become super successful.
It's basically the things that make or break a video are thumbnail, title, and the intro.
Yeah. Because those are what the algorithm likes.
It's a lot of work to hone it.
It is, and I don't know how many people that are watching really know how difficult it is to actually create the best thumbnail and like an actual intro that's gonna attract people. Like maybe for some YouTubers it comes natural and it's very easy for them, but I think for the most part for everybody it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort to make those things.
One of the favorite tactics that I've seen is people channels who have banded together and would have weekly meetings for thumbnails, where they actually collaborate and help each other figure out, because it's hard, and sometimes you just need somebody to talk to and to come up with ideas and to figure out, here's this thing, how do I evoke curiosity and an emotion and get them to easily understand it.
Right.
It's also difficult with like unboxings, because it's like, here's a doll, like there she is. You
already see her. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is the name of her, and you know exactly what's happening. But that's why it's like one of the more successful videos that we did, that was, you can see one of the ones where I think I was pretty spot on in the normal standard YouTube tactics, which is when Sandy said we'd be bringing her back up here. When I made this girl, Haku, who is a 14-inch smart doll, and I made a video where the thumbnail is like her legs or something, and me holding a Dremel, a rotary tool, up to it, and like stuff that's like, I cut her legs off. Like, just, it's like the idea is kind of crazy, and she's gonna fall.
I mean, I even asked, like, the last Utter Chaos that came out from Danny, ours came late. It got held up several times in different locations in the U.S.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It shipped immediately. Danny was really good about getting that out, but we just didn't get it right away. And and the contents were being revealed like all over social media. And I actually said, do you guys want us to unbox it for you? Should we do a live and unbox it? I mean, it's all out there. I mean, and the general consensus was, yeah, we want to watch you unbox stuff.
Right, because the main reason is they like the two of you, John and Sandy. Like, they want to know what you think of the Chaos unboxing. Like, they've already seen the contents, I guess, from other people's channels, sure. But what they come for in your channel is to see the two of you and your reactions, like, as opposed to, same thing with mine. They come to my channel, maybe I did an unboxing video that somebody already did, but they want to know, like, my reaction to it. So, I mean, that's the same reason for yours. Like, still do the content, even though it's already out there, I think.
Well, and I think it's one of the things that if you look at the types of videos that you see on YouTube, you've got information, entertainment,
right.
But I don't know what the word is for the other one, but there are some videos that are, I mean, more like vlogging, they're like, what are people getting out of it from you? And sometimes you have videos that people are just getting you. They want to know about you, and they watch your videos for you, not necessarily for the content. And I think it's kind of like all right, bait and switch is not the right term, but it's an evolution, right? It's an evolution of your audience, because we sort of have a two-pronged approach, which is pull in with information and then grow that relationship into something deeper, where we care about them, they care about us, and I imagine that for you, for most of the doll community, that because of the size of it in general, that's kind of what we have to rely on. We have to be building relationships and building connections with our audience so that they want to see, like they'll watch you even though they've seen that doll before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the other things that we're doing is like there aren't a lot of us that are doing multiple camera views either. Just a brief tech thing. Like John has put a lot of effort into making sure that we can give a really good both like talking head style video and top down. And he's done a really good job of that. And I think a lot of people just like they want to see things nicely.
That is with most unboxings in general. I think it's you're gonna get into, there's I don't want to say like real channels, but they're the more committed YouTube channels, us, yourself, all the way up to Doll Fairy, whatever, versus the average person going, I want to just put my unboxings. You get great emotional content.
Yeah, there's some great emotional content out there from people doing unboxings, and there's a lot of channels that I really like that are not doing like they're shooting with their iPhone and stuff like that, and it's not massively high quality. They're not doing 4K, but I enjoy watching them for the emotional content. I get excited with them.
Right.
But there are other people who want to see this, they'll watch us because they want to see the same outfit or doll face or whatever in 4K close to the camera and hear what we have to say about it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That's very true. So we talked about like theme and topics, and we segued into like how to make your channel like more interesting, how to make people want to watch. But the one thing that I want to talk about also that is pretty unique that maybe not a lot of people talk about, but is YouTube balance, like family life balance and YouTube, or mental health balance with YouTube. Like I know I said earlier, I was touched upon how I said I was doing YouTube for a while and then I just burnt out and I needed to take a break. Like, how do you guys feel about your YouTube journey so far in regards to balancing YouTube and just your normal lives as a couple, as just John and Sandy?
Well, I think because we started this like with Smart Doll and everything and really got the channel going during the pandemic, we have actually allowed, physically, we have allowed most of our house to be overtaken by Smart Doll and YouTube. We are sitting in what was our beautiful little study. Then the walls were filled with books, and now they're filled with Smart Dolls, and we are sitting in front of lights and cameras and things like that. So there is pretty much something related to the channel in almost every room in the house, whether it's a doll or a piece of equipment or something like that. So just on the physical end, it really does become part of your life. But we really, because we did this for community and for our own creativity, I don't think it bothers us that much. Like
I mean, yeah. Do we have balance? No. I mean, I work full time and then I'm producing, filming, editing videos most of the rest of the time. I like doing a lot of that stuff. When we are, it's like I want more than anything to reach more people and to grow. And so, I don't think we're like, we're not like YouTube crazy and think we're going to get huge or anything like that. But I have ambition to get bigger. I have the ambition to reach more and to build a bigger community. And
really to have the community.
Literally
more people enthusiastic about the dolls and stuff. Not because we just think we're going to be like YouTube famous, but because we want more community and
Right.
more passion about the dolls.
Right.
You know.
I mean, and we love. I mean, I love doing this stuff. Like, I love doing the production work. I love, creating videos, getting to be creative. I mean, from the first time we did, when we unboxed Supergirl, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna figure out how to make it look like the Supergirl package crash landed in our backyard with like glowing kryptonite and stuff. Like, I love like getting an idea, having a challenge, and figuring out how to do it. But so specifically about balance, the hard part comes when you're trying to, if you're trying to push yourself. Like, we should be ideally doing like an uploaded video every week plus the news.
And we were doing that for a little while.
But then I started to like, get to the point where it was like, it was so much pressure, and a lot of pressure on like, like having the content and having like, then the pressure going on Sandy to like make outfits for something so that we can film it, because we want to do a cinematic for it. We can't just put it out there because we've committed to this thing. And like, it becomes so much that there are definitely times where I've just sort of shut down, and we needed to like take a week off. We dealt with a loss in our personally this summer, and that has hit us like a long-term ton of bricks. And we're just beginning to climb out of the hole that we were in. But for me, it's not being afraid to take the time when you need it, not being afraid to talk about it. And because most people don't, but mental health and for YouTubers is a huge problem, because the algorithm and YouTube in general is designed so that the faster you put out content, the faster you grow. It is designed to push you and push you and push you until you drop.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that does get to me sometimes is, I'll have placed an order with Volks or something like that, and it's a bunch of like clothes and shoes and stuff that I really wanted, and I really want to take out of the box. And I'm like, I really just want to open this, and then there's that's a video.
Yeah, everything is content.
Everything is content.
Sometimes I just want to enjoy opening the box.
Right.
And looking at all this stuff.
Hey, speaking of which, Shizusan, you got any boxes back there?
I do. I have quite a few boxes right behind me that need to get unboxed.
What is that date on one of those that you said you haven't opened yet?
Oh, I think I'm at 3 years now.
Sure.
3 years. Yeah, I have a doll that I have not opened in 3 years. Still in the box.
Can I just say that's your thumbnail?
That is the plan. That was the plan. When I eventually get around to unboxing her, that is the plan for the thumbnail, because I think it's just a very unique experience. Because everybody tells me it's a unique experience, and they're like, "How do you last so long without opening it?" And
you need to do like a time lapse video of like 3 years of it waiting there.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, like it's like Sandy said, you buy something and you're like, oh, I really, really want this, so you buy it. Comes in the mail, and then you want to open it and start playing with it and putting it on your dolls, but then you're like, everything is content. Like, I need to do an unboxing video of this. So, okay, I'm not going to open it now. I'll open it this weekend, right? So then this weekend comes along, and I don't know, something comes up in the plans, and the kid gets sick, or I forgot, like, I had to go somewhere and meet with somebody, right? So something comes up in the plans. So then it gets pushed off, and it gets pushed off. And then it gets to the point, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it gets to the point where you buy so many things, and you keep waiting to unbox them, that they just keep growing in a pile, right? You start getting this really large pile. And then now, every time I walk in my office, I go and I look at this pile, and I'm like, I really need to do some unboxing. That's a lot of boxes. I was like, what do I start with? I don't know what to start with. And then it just keeps getting put off because now you're like, which one should I start with? And then it's like, wait, should I go through this? And then I have modes where like I go through the pile and I'm like, okay, not this one, maybe this one. All right, I'm going to put it in order of how I want to unbox it. All right, now it's in order. But then it stays there because then it's like, all right, when am I going to do it? So like I have like all these things.
Sorry. Smart also with Joe is kind of getting in on this, and he's like, I totally get the unboxing situation, Sandy. There's times when I stunt my own sewing for the same reason. Quick sewing idea, but then I think, should I record the process? That's a video.
Exactly.
And I just want to make it.
Yeah, I have to push, Sandy all the time in that similar regard. It's like she's making stuff up there, and I'm like, we want to be doing that. Like, we want process videos, we want creative videos, we want to get out of everything's an unboxing,
right?
And it's just like I walk into her craft room, I'm just like, are you recording?
And I'm half the time it's like, not yet, but I'm going to. I was just trying to figure something out, and but
everything piles up, and like I get behind, and speaking of the whole mental health thing, like to elaborate on my break, is that the reason why I took a break is because obviously I got burnt out, but the reason for the burnout was because I didn't understand how to do a good YouTube and life balance. Yeah. So for like a quick breakdown for individuals that are not familiar, because I know I've said it somewhere on one of my videos, but I'm going to say it rather quickly this time because I don't want to take up too much time. But essentially, you wake up in the morning, right? Like I wake up, for me personally, I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning, right? Get ready for work, get the kids ready for school and everything situated. Then I go to work, and I'm usually at work from 8:30 to 4:30. If it's a long day, sometimes I have to stay to work till like 5-6 o'clock. And then when I leave work at that point, I get home, and then I have my home time with the kids, like spend time with the kids, make sure they do their homework, make sure they bathe, they eat, things like that. Now, obviously, I'm not a single dad. My wife and I are doing it together, but, there's the kid time, and then like there's the time with the missus. And I don't mean anything like X-rated. I just mean like time to, talk about your day. Like, how was your day, honey? Like just spend time with each other. And by the time all that's over, then it's time to put the kids to bed, which is usually around like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then after they go to bed, then I, do my normal clean up, get ready for tomorrow's next work day. And then when that's done, it's probably around like 10:30-ish, around then. And then that's when I start my YouTube. So then I start doing research for my YouTube channel, getting together information for the news, or writing down topics for the next Beyond the Doll, or, getting footage together for the travel videos that I've been working on forever. And by the time I'm done with that session, whatever I finish with that session, it's like 2-3 in the morning, and then I go to bed, and then I wake up again at 6:30, and it starts all over again. So I was doing that for about a good 4-5 years until I just burnt out. I couldn't sustain it anymore. Like 3 hours of sleep every day just wasn't doing it for me. And not only,
we definitely have the advantage of it's our life. Like, we have both committed to this, right? Like, we are integrating it across the board and doing things together. I cannot imagine, like, what you just said, 4 hours of sleep a night?
About like 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night,
Yeah, see that, that alone is a recipe for a mental breakdown. Like,
yeah.
There was a point in the last few months where I got in a pretty dangerous place mentally because our sleep schedules got so out of whack, and I was running on 3 hours of sleep a night. That is dangerous. And what I would say is, there was one of my favorite YouTube sort of channel gurus or whatever is Nate from Channel Makers, and he's talked about this a lot. He actually took a mental health break last year, talked about it a good chunk. And there was a recent-ish video that he did talking about the thought, the mantra they say of, you have to do a video every week. Like, you want to do YouTube, you got to do a video every week. And then the other side of the equation of going, that's crazy, you're going to drive yourself, insane. Don't do that. And he was like, yes, but, and he's like, what I would change that statement to is, you need to do a video, however, he's like X times, or one time every X weeks or whatever that is, that is good, and you can repeatedly do it. Like, if you can't do a good video every week, can you do one every 2 weeks? Like, can you do one every 3 weeks? What is that number that is a good balance for you to be able to reasonably not just because throwing out crappy videos every week is not necessarily going to get you anywhere either. So, like, what's it going to take for you to have the time needed to improve, to make a good video, and then, keep making your videos better bit by bit, but to make a good solid video on a regular basis. So it's like, regularity is important, but should you be pushing yourself every week? No, not necessarily, unless you can, and you can keep that up.
Right. But, I didn't think like that when I started my channel in the very beginning. I was just kind of like, video, go,
Yeah.
like, do this thing. And it's not even just the videos too. It's just, I also travel to conventions and I do panels where I talk about dolls. So the summer times is the most busy for me, because that's when I start traveling and talking at panels about dolls. So that adds to my workload in summertime. So it was just like a lot on my plate. And like nowadays, now that I'm kind of back a little bit more regularly now, it is a video every week, but it's a different kind of video each week. So it's like, I do my live videos one week, the next week is a news video, then the next week is a live video, then a news video. So it's two different types of contents. But yeah, I mean, even sometimes, even then, like, some monkey wrenches get thrown in. Like, I haven't done a doll symposium in a month. So most of my viewers are like, when's the next doll symposium? Is it supposed to be every other week? I haven't done it because the first time I skipped was because I was super tired after my convention at Colossal Con. Like, it just took a lot out of me and I needed a break. So I decided to take that break, that mental health break. And then last week's video, I was sick. John and Sandy know, because I was talking to them last week over Zoom, and I was just really sick. I couldn't do a video. So normally, back in the day, though, when I was sick, I still did the video. And I'd be like, in the beginning of the video, I'd be like, I apologize, guys. Not feeling good today, but we're going to try and get this video out. And like, there's videos of that. If you look up, find it on my channel, there's videos of me sick, like just doing the news. So now I'm just like, you know what? If I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling good, I'm just going to postpone it and just not do it, because I am not going to go back to that place where I was before, where I was just super burnt out.
Kelly Poplar says that you need to get me a permanent video set up in my sewing room where it just records. Or one tap start. You want to see me fall over stuff, Kelly? You should see the floor in my sewing room.
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, we're almost there. I mean, she has a light. She has a mount over the top of it. It's just that we're using, the best quality camera portably we have access to, which is her iPhone 13 or whatever. And I think yes, we could invest in another camera to leave there, perhaps. But yeah, it's about getting rid of the obstacles to you just doing it, and money is a very useful thing in that regard.
Yeah.
We are fortunate to have we've collected enough stuff that I've got like enough lights down here. Well, actually, no, I think I stole some of them for this time. I'm gonna have to buy some more. But in my photography setup, I have to have lights down here, and like I've moved stuff back and forth. We have the camera here, but most of this setup, other than like the camera, stays here. It's a pain in the butt though if I have to go take pictures or any other video, because I have to take the camera off of there, swap things around, do all that.
And we're like looking at trying to get the house together to move home to Connecticut. which will improve the channel because we're looking specifically where we can have a nice big permanent space for the channel. But it also at the moment restricts what we can do because we're trying to not only get the house ready to move and get the funds ready to move. So we're tight on that. But it's kind of like what Smart Girl Sewing Joe said. It's like sometimes I just want to go up there and fiddle around, and I'm not doing anything that I think is worthy of being content for the channel.
It would be great if we could make it so that you literally there was a button or something. It was easy that it was just ready to go. Blop, hit it, hit record.
You could rig the camera record button to the light switch, so when she walks in the room and turns on the light, it just starts recording.
I don't think it should be that. But, I mean, you like the light there anyway, so the video light is mostly on a lot. So it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's become useful because I have to have eye surgery pretty soon, and the extra light has been valuable.
Shizusan, I mean, I know the answer to this because we talked about it last weekend, but how's your setup and teardown process for doing videos?
Oh my gosh, it's annoying because this studio that you see here is not very big. It's probably like 3 telephone booth size big. I mean, it may look big because the camera is just wide angle camera, so it just may look bigger than it actually is, but it really isn't. Like I can just go like this and touch the wall behind me, and touch the walls on either side of me when I put my arms out. So it doubles as my YouTube studio and my hobby studio to like do my Gundam kits or dress up my dolls or whatever. But then it's also my workspace when I work from home. So I have my office equipment here as well, so I can work from home. So whenever I do videos, I basically have to take everything down. So I take all the lights down, take the camera down, take the microphone off its stand, move them all into the closet, and then bring my work stuff out so I can work. And then every time I want to film, I got to pack up my work stuff, throw it out in the hallway, and tell my wife, just be careful not to step on my work stuff while I set up all the equipment. So I had to put the camera back up, put the lights back up, and then I can finally film. And that whole teardown process is probably like a good 20 minutes, to get everything all set up.
You set up your stuff like on carts and stuff so that you can just roll them
in and out? I mean, I guess I could, but that would rely on having somewhere to put the cart though when I'm not using it. And I don't want to speak ill because I love my wife, but she gets mad when I put things in places. So like if I had a cart and I wheeled it out like into the hallway and left it there, she would just look at me and be like, how long is that going to be there? Is that going to be there all day? Is that going to be there all week? And then I'll be like, maybe, like, you know what I mean? Or I'll try to put like because there was a time where I tried putting some of my equipment in the living room in a corner while I'm doing my work stuff. And that really didn't work out too well because not only was it an eyesore for the missus, she didn't like it being out there, but then the kids grab it. So then the kids are like, especially my son, because he doesn't know any better. He's only 5. He likes to play with everything. So he started grabbing at the camera lighting and stuff and like playing it and knocking it over. So like
onto himself and,
it just wasn't really feasible. So then everything just has to get packed up and then put into the closet and then taken out when I need it. So it gets really annoying. And that's another thing that like kind of like annoys me when I have to do my videos is this whole tear down and set up and that kind of stuff is just really annoying. But I like doing the videos, so I just keep it going.
Yeah, we're looking to have a large space where like hopefully the studio and the sewing room and everything can be in the same actual area. So that we can just shift things around.
Yeah, to that point of having where you can just push a button to record. Like I want you to have a sewing room studio, like a TV studio or whatever, but something that is designed specifically with camera setups all ready to go, and that we can shoot easily video in there. I also need I need another camera. I need to be able to just leave this here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's insane how much effort is involved in it's not just even setting the stuff back on there. It's the setup. Getting if I took video elsewhere, I've now changed all of the settings and
Yup.
everything, and I have
Yep.
to change everything back. And if I forget to do that, if I forget one thing, we'll be doing a live stream, and everything's gonna look weird.
Right. Like you got to set up your ISO, you got to set up your white
Yep.
balance. You know, it's a pain in the ass. So I totally understand it with the whole camera thing because I used to have just one camera. So then the one camera I had to take it down, set it up, and then when I go shoot for outside doing vlogs for Let's Travel, I had to do a whole nother setting. And then I had to remember the settings and then remember the height that the tripod was at in my office versus when it was outside. So now I have 2 tripods. So it's one in the office. I just keep it at the same height so I don't mess up the height. And now I have 3 cameras. So I have my vlogging camera, my studio camera, and then my camera to just do whatever the hell I want with. So this way I don't have to go through the whole thing of changing the settings anymore like I used to. But that was a huge pain in the butt, is just using one camera for everything. But I got to the point where I was able to afford more cameras, so I have 3 now. I could probably use one more, but I don't want to push it.
Batman Jackson said, "Time for bigger houses for everyone."
Yeah.
Bigger houses for everyone.
And
Yeah,
you get a
I
house,
wish.
and you get a house.
I wish.
We're not only looking for studio space. My mom is going to move in with us, and
So
we
that's-
want her to have her own space, like
Right.
not actually be in the house with us. Like, you know, we want her to have her own apartment,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
So it's got to be sizable.
Yeah, what we want out of a house is it's going to be hard to find, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, I'm even lucky to have this telephone booth of an office. I mean, if I didn't have this little area, I really don't know how I would have done YouTube, like setting it up in my current house. Like, there's no other areas where I could really set it up nicely and take it down and put it back up. So even though this is a small space, I'm just grateful to have it anyways. Oh, and there's no central air in here either. This one little room has no air conditioning and no heat. So in the winter, it's super cold in here. And then in the summer, I just sweating my ass off.
Oh my goodness. We ended up taking we had a guest room for the first couple of years we were here that was a dedicated guest room. But it only got used like maybe 3 or 4 times. So we ended up putting in a Murphy bed. A nice Murphy bed that goes up into the wall, and now that's John's photo studio.
Yeah, you could see our very first video. Like, the requirement of doing those videos, I think, was the Murphy bed. So we bought and built that Murphy bed, and then in January of 2021 or whatever, started shooting our first unboxings in front of it. And then instantly started getting backdrops.
I actually should probably do that. I should probably invest in backdrops. I don't know.
At your depth, I don't know. You might be decent. You might do well just because of the types of videos you do. You might do well trying to go green screen, but
I've been tossing that idea around. Like, it's
either
either
lots of light. That's going to be the big problem.
It's either green screen, or I was planning on trying to do something with this back wall, like putting something up, because my older videos were actually against the wall to my left, and I had like my smart doll bag that was standing by Danny Chu. I had some pictures that I had commissioned that were behind me, so I had like a little bit of a nice kind of backdrop for my studio. But since I moved it to this camera angle, I have nothing over here except for this glass whiteboard that I don't even use anymore, and my old lighting equipment that I don't even use anymore. It's just kind of like sitting there.
Pole behind you?
Yeah, it's like it's up on let me see. It's, if I take this up a little bit, you can see it's a ring. It's an old ring light, which I used to use, which would give me the rings on my glasses, which are now gone because I don't use it anymore. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, before, that's what we had before. Well, we still have it. It's up there, but since I shifted to this view and was able to, and ended up, I took my really nice key light that was up in the studio and is now dedicated to down here. The main studio keeps absorbing all of my lights.
Oh man, the YouTube struggles, I tell you.
So life balance. There is none.
I feel like for us the answer is I'm always angry.
I think we actually have it a little bit easier simply because we are a married couple who are both into the hobby and we don't
I'm
have
working from
kids.
home.
And he works
Mhm.
from home, and I stay home and take care of the dog in the house.
Mhm.
So
If I didn't work from home, this would be a pretty big other story. I mean, I have a flexibility in terms of doing things when we need to do them,
Mhm.
but also I would be doing like a 45-minute commute both ways.
Mhm.
So then my day is just getting way longer too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's what's great for your situation is that since the two of you are doing it together, so when your home work life is still just your home life at the same time, because it's
Yeah.
the two of you.
I mean, sometimes because we like to talk about other things.
Mhm.
We like to sit on the couch and watch movies together. We like to go out occasionally. But yeah, we talk about this stuff a lot.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. Here's my goals. My like I don't think these are pie in the sky goals, but I would like to get the channel to be monetized, to have a revenue stream enough so that we can start. Like, I really would love a researcher to help us out and to be able to actually pay somebody
Mhm.
to be able to to be able to pay for more things from the community, artwork, research, and things that will really expand our footage, or our videos, and and to and for, I mean, even before that, I guess paying for itself would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, the channel doesn't pay for itself yet. Never mind paying for the hobby or anything like that.
Right.
But those are, I will say that it's like, having worked with the community, and it's been a real blast getting to
Mhm.
uh, just like collaborate on more and more things. But there's certain points where I'm like, I really need somebody to help me do this, but I can't for the life of me, I can't just, I don't know, I have a hard time just saying, anybody want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, we have some wonderful people in our Discord that actually do some stuff for us that it helps with the community. Like the Smarty Party on our Smart Doll News is organized and put together. Well, it's organized originally by John, but it's put together by 3 members of the community.
Mhm.
Yep.
So,
That would be Lee, Baggins Lover, and Magic Durgan.
Shout out.
and
Shout out.
yeah, we love them for doing that. They do it every week without fail, and with heart emojis attached, and it's fun, and the community likes it.
I also specifically like to shout out, especially Baggins Lover, who's done the majority of the work. They've been helping like do tons of data entry on building a smart doll like sculpt and
Mhm.
doll database.
Mhm.
And I think it actually might be ready data wise. I got to double check on that, and I just have to figure out how to host it properly so that you can actually go to like
Mhm.
archives.myladydisdain.com or something like that. So hopefully that'll be launching soon once I figure that out.
So instead of just being spreadsheets, you'll actually have a site to go to where you can just click through and look at photos and get all your information. And that's
Right.
just something that John and our community have consolidated and put together, and and it's not going to be, it's going to be free,
Yeah.
So
Speaking of goals, how you kind of just put that out there for goals, is that I also want to see if maybe I can grow my channel to the point where it pays for itself.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they do, I don't know, maybe they don't, is that YouTube can be free. Everything you do can be free, but it doesn't, you don't have to buy anything or pay anything in order to do YouTube. But if you want to give it that extra edge, or you want to use specific things, sometimes you end up paying. Like I pay.
It's like
YouTube has in-app purchases, basically.
Yeah, I pay a lot of money.
Purchases.
I pay a lot of money just to run the channel, like just
Yep.
get it running, like royalty fees for music,
Yep.
camera equipment, lighting equipment, software programs that I pay for. Now, all of these things you could get for free, but I choose to pay for them because of the advantages it gives you and the freedom of usability that it gives you for certain things.
Well, it's like that classic, you can have it fast, you can have it fast, cheap, or high quality. It's like it's like YouTube is similar. I'm like, you can't, you generally, you can do it all for free, but you're going to have to do a ton of work, and the quality is going to be only so good,
Right.
and henceforth the growth is only be
Right.
so much. It's perfectly able and fine for somebody to pop on and just open up their phone and start putting
Right.
videos up.
Like if I could
Yeah,
get the
it's
channel
like
to the
annual
point
purchase.
where it pays for itself for the monthly fees that I pay to keep it going,
Yep.
that would be amazing. And one thing I always thought about, because I know big time YouTubers use it. Now I'm not big time, but I could see the advantages of it. Is that if I could get an editor to edit my videos, I think I could dole out more content and do more videos that I want to do, because the editing time takes up so much time. Like just editing. And then also because I'm not an expert, while I'm trying to do a video and I'm like, this would be cool if I do this. And I got to learn how to do that first before I can even start editing the video. So I got to learn that other skill. So in hiring an editor, I feel like all I have to do is film. Just come up with creative ideas, film it, and then send it off to be edited, and then the video gets posted. The downside to that is that if you do it that way, is that it won't have my personal, I guess, flair of how I edit. It will have somebody else's editing style put onto my video, and that's the only thing that would make it different. But I feel like if I had an editor, I could probably do. I probably wouldn't have a backlog. Maybe I'm thinking, because cutting out that editing time would be so nice.
I would imagine though that an editor can. I would imagine though that, well, all right, I don't think that either of our styles is anything that an editor couldn't emulate or possibly should emulate.
This is true.
It's like, I don't know, I just think you can though, like you should still be able to have input and creative input into the types of like how you would do gag jokes and things, or whatever it is that whatever the thing that you feel makes you, I think is something that they could do, or maybe have a good reason not to do, and pitch you out of it. But like those are all just editing decisions. The sheer fact that like somebody who's doing that often, they can edit like probably 10 times as much content in the same amount of time that you took to edit one video. So
I've never really researched it though, so I don't know what the process is or how much it costs or anything, but I just like thinking in my head, I'm like, if somebody just edited my videos, could I?
It's definitely a milestone for sure. Like being able to hit that and go, okay, we're making enough money to hire an editor. Now you've hit that growth spurt of I can scale.
Yeah, it's like now it's more feasible to do a video every week because I'm not doing the editing. You know what I mean? Like now it just boils down to, I guess, creativity and like how much you want to dole out every week, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But that's one of my goals, I think, is just to get the channel to a point where the channel pays for itself, and maybe if I'm lucky enough, get an editor at some point. But that last part probably will never happen, because usually people that have editors for the channels is usually people that have like million subscribers at that point. So,
and I want to be clear, just in case anyone is wondering, since we're talking about money, which is, I don't know, gauche, maybe, whatever. At least I'm guessing Shizusan, we're not talking about like dolls. Like,
right.
This does not include the like all the money put into having things to unbox.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how much regular money just comes out. You could probably I would say you could at least buy a doll a month off of what we have to spend, spread out over the year.
It's just all little things.
Yeah.
It's all like
It adds up.
Yeah.
And then of course, then you gotta, like, you want to take things to the next level, so you buy a new camera, or you buy, like for my case, like I just got a new big sewing machine,
Mhm.
like, and then there's all these things, you just decide where you're going to put your money.
Yeah.
Now, I think both you and John and I, we started in a decent place when we started our channels. We didn't start like working part-time at McDonald's.
Right. Yeah, I already had. I
But-
was full established career. Like
Yeah,
I make enough money to support myself, my family, and my hobby. So it's not like I need YouTube to make me money to live. Like I don't need that. Like I don't need money to live. This is just I just want YouTube to be able to support itself, and that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean like people sending me money either through Patreon or people like buying things from me, which I want to touch on as a next topic. But it's more so just turning on monetization and just getting ad revenue and
I can tell you right now,
having that kind of maybe self-sustain. I don't know.
I will tell you right now, get that out of your head, Shizusan. You are never going to monetize and get that. You are not going to make much money off of ads. You will make, we already have a greater contribution from our community members through live streams and things like that, through super chats and everything, than we do through ads. It depends on the month, but it's at least it's usually like 50-50 or like 75-25. It depends on how generous people necessarily are that month. But the cool thing, I think, about such a targeted niche that we are in is that we're not going to have the huge numbers to be making like ad revenue like crazy. We're not going to be, you're going to be pulling in some, but we do have strong relationships with people who who love the content you create, who want to see you do more content, want to see you do better content. And those are relationships that I think, working with your community to help you reach a goal. Like our community helped pay for our 3D printer. Of course, the cost of that has inflated because all this extra stuff that we need, and I've got to figure out how to vent the room because I cannot. Like, it's bad. I know like the fumes are bad, but some people seem to be able to put up with it better than others, and I cannot. So we're working through that, but we were able to, through the generosity of our community, to be able to expand our capabilities, because that's like, to me, always the goal. There's, yes, I've got to hit this basis point, but I also, people want to help build the channel and make the channel have I don't know, have more. It makes no sense, but
people like, and I mean, I think like we have a lot of people who, and we love this and we love them for it, but people who are like, they like coming to the live every week. They like contributing. They like being part of this community and this family that we're creating. And I think that, you just, when we invited them, we were like, okay, we have a few things on our list that we would like to have, but we can't prioritize them. So the community helped out.
Yeah.
They and we told them, like, okay, we're getting ready, we're buying it now. We're buying the 3D printer. Like, people want to help.
You can't, like, I think about like Patreon and in general, there's an element, I think, for all YouTubers, that this moment that you have to get past, which is hard, which is being comfortable asking for money. And
it's not easy.
It's not.
I haven't reached that point where I'm kind of comfortable with it. Like, people have asked me before, if you want to.
One of the reasons why we, I think, are maybe a little bit more comfortable, we come from a community theater background. where, and in fact, we come from, we met in a theater that was a democratically run theater. So it had a general meeting, which voted on everything, including which shows to put on that season. And after every single performance, somebody did a pitch. Somebody in the cast stood up and said, "Thank you so much, Gavin.
Basically.
Like, would you please, it was donations on the way in. And if you can give any more now that you've seen it, please give some."
Tickets were pay what you can, basically. They're not anymore. They have they charge ticket prices, and they have like a Friday or something like that where you can come for nothing. But a lot of times people will come to see the show for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, you can't keep a community theater going that way when you have your own space.
Yeah.
I think it's about having a confidence in the value that you're providing to your audience. I think that's what it comes down to, and we push ourselves on that regard. It's always, and yes, that's all, part of that is about driving, I need more views or whatever, all that stuff. But it all comes down to value. Like, what can I give people in this video, in this moment? That and it's information, and it's entertainment, and it's connection. Those are the three things that we end up balancing on every video. Pretty much.
I love the super, like you said, connection, and it's like I love the super chats because, like, there's usually like a cute little thing that comes up, and a moment with a member of the audience where they get to say something to us, and it's like it drives you, like it.
Which, by the way, for anybody who watches our news, I've been working on a little super chat surprise for next time. Got a new.
And it's that driving thing. Yeah. It's like you start adding something in, then you expand on that. And that's what we've been doing all along, is just expanding on.
I guess that's where it makes it different for me, is that I guess because I never had that background, I guess, or that exposure to doing something that, where money could be donated or anything. Like, I've never really done that. Like, I mean, I've done things where, like, I've been in public, I've done public speeches, I've done panels, and I'm doing YouTube, but I've never really had money like come into my thoughts. Like, there was always money in my thoughts, like, if I buy this, do I have enough money to buy this doll? Can I do an unboxing? Or do I have enough money to buy a new camera? Because I think I need a new camera. But I never really, it never entered my head that maybe I should, ask for money in a sense of like a subscription or a Patreon or merchandising or something like that. I mean, I've thought about it, but I never really went past just thinking about it per se. I've had ideas on how to do things, but just not really taking it full on to that next step. And I know Demi knows.
What were some of your ideas?
Well, Demi knows in chat. Batman Jackson, she knows, because I tried something where I made my own t-shirts for a while, and initially it was just t-shirts that I was gonna wear when I go to conventions to make me stand out for my branding and something like that. Sure. And I remember Batman Jackson in chat was asking, when are you gonna put that up for sale so that we can wear them too? And I was like, I'll think about that. Let me see how that goes. It never really came to fruition because I couldn't figure out basically how to get it started. Really, I went to a place and they just custom made it for me, but I never really thought about can they make me multiple versions of this and in multiple different sizes, and then how much that's going to cost, and then where am I going to sell it? How am I going to get this out to everybody? Do I do it on Etsy? Do I open my own website store? Do I do it on YouTube store? I don't really know. There was a lot going through my mind, and then I was like, let's put it on the back burner for now. Let's just keep concentrating on the YouTube channel, because I don't know if this is really going to be something worth putting all my effort and time into. I've thought of maybe little trinkets too, maybe stickers or keychains or something like that, but never really came to fruition. I did do one time where I went to an event, think it was New York Comic Con. It was New York Comic Con. I was helping a friend out with their booth in the Artist Alley. They had a booth there, and I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I put something for sale on your table, just to see if there's interest, like if people were interested in this type of thing?" And they were totally cool with it. And I told them, I'll pay for like a portion of your table fees for having a table here, just so I could like have like a small little space. And all I did was I made doll I basically took pictures of my dolls and I turned them into portraits and bookmarks and little like things like that, like small little things. And then I put them out on the table, and oddly enough they all sold out. So I was like, and I didn't do any research into it either, so I didn't know how much to charge for these things, like how much they should cost. I didn't even calculate in my head how much it cost me for the paper and the materials. I didn't factor any of that in. I was just like, $2, yeah, this should be worth $2. So like I put them out there for like $2, and like and it sold. Maybe it sold because people liked it. Maybe it sold just because it was just $2. I don't know. But that was like my only time I dabbled in like trying to sell things. I think I made a total of like $20 that day, because I didn't I didn't really have much. I only had like 10 things on there. So, but it was interesting.
It actually cost $5 each to make, so you lost.
It probably did. It probably did, because I had to get a laminator machine, then I had to get the laminator pieces, and then like the photo paper for it, and then like, well, I already had the printer, but like the photo paper, and the frames that I had them in. So like it definitely cost more to make it, but I didn't want to be that guy that was just like, this should be worth $100 when it's not like $100 worth. Like, so I was just like, I'm just trying something out. Let's see how this goes. I was like, give me $2 for it. And like, people were like, oh, give me one of each. Cause I had like, different pictures. So like when people came by, they bought one of each. And I was just really surprised at it, because it was a comic book convention. It wasn't a doll convention, but people were buying like these little bookmarks and portraits of dolls. So I was like, oh, this was kind of cool.
Batman saying, nah, print on demand, you don't do any of the work, like Redbubble. We actually use print on demand for our shirts and stuff, but there is a lot of work attached to it.
Right.
John's creating, like, I mean, he is using, a lot of times he's using Danny's artwork that he's provided, but he's also creating his own designs out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of time that goes into that. And then you've got dealing with taxes and things like that has to be done.
Taxes is another thing that I was worried about too. I was just like, ugh, now I got to deal with taxes.
That's where you sell them through. Like it's your merchandise is basically two parts of the process: the production and then the sales.
Yeah.
And production, we use Printful. We're quite happy with the
quality is really good.
With the quality, I'm not a huge fan of Redbubble, for instance, in terms of their quality.
Mm-hmm.
But Printful will integrate into whatever your sales, most of the major sales platforms. So you could put them through Etsy, which to some extent Etsy is a good route because they'll handle a lot of your
taxes and
shipping and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of Etsy at this point, and their whole platform, and what they're doing, and how they're
that could be a whole nother episode on its own.
Invite Kit and Kat on see if they'll tell their story. But it's we ended up using Shopify. It's it has its issues, but it's a very open platform that we can do a lot with. Danny's site is run on Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sad thing is there's limits of what you can make because you're limited to what they can print on.
Right.
And they're expanding that all the time. I've added mugs to the store, not quite on every design, because even taking a design that's already created, even taking like, here's just what I've called sheep tose. Here's whatever, chitose dressed as a sheep. It's one graphic, put it on there. I've got to size it. I've got to, put it in the right spot.
Right.
I've got to then set up all of the titles, all the description and the metadata. Like, just making one product takes, a chunk of time. And that's just putting the product together,
Right.
let alone design. So it's a lot of work. I know that I put more. I'm not sure we break even yet. If you just look at, we're probably more than breaking even on the t-shirt side of things. Not when you consider the YouTube side of things.
But it's just as far as the channel paying for the t-shirt shop paying for itself.
But like we're stuck in, we're not in any place that has VAT, because dealing with VAT, it would from the quotes that I've gotten, it would roughly cost me in the first year of having like just the EU option. It would cost me like $1,000
just to have the EU brought into the fold.
Yeah. Now it would go down after that, because we're talking a bunch of upfront fees. It's like $400 or something, and then like a monthly charge. And I'm like, that monthly charge, I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to get that many sales. Like,
right.
We don't. Our sales are not. I don't know. We have a good month is like 6 sales.
So like you're operating at a loss almost.
So for the most part, you try not to, because that's the whole point of print on demand. You're not operating, like, you're not doing much. But yeah, at that point, there's such an investment into getting into that area. And it sucks, because there's like members of our community that want our stuff that I'm just like, I can't, I'm sorry.
Batman said, I know there's lots of work on the design and pre-artwork submission side. It's totally cool, Batman. We just were trying to explain both sides of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that was I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just getting the artwork alone, like, I mean, hiring somebody to do, my logos and my picture, my mascot for my channel, I was blessed in the fact that I had a really good friend that's really good at art and stuff like that, where they were able to help me out in doing it. But making anything else, because I'm not particularly talented when it comes to drawing. So like, I would have to outsource anything like that I would want to do. Like if I wanted.
But I mean, we outsourced our entire logo and have built a brand around that. I mean, and it was, I mean, what was it? $30, $50 or something?
No, it was more expensive than that.
Was it?
Yeah. It ended up being, I think it ended up being like a couple $100.
That's still,
but still, that's cheap to get somebody to do that.
If it's, especially if that's like going to be reused massively over and over again. But yeah, I don't know. The t-shirt, I look at this is how I look at the t-shirt business at this point. I'm making shirts that I want to wear and hope somebody else might pick it up too. But marketing it is a massive problem and is very difficult.
One of the biggest benefits we get out of it is we get sample shirts at a discount. So if there's a shirt that we want and John makes it, we can then turn around and order it. Like I just got my squeeze shirt, my Toshibi, well, she is
nothing.
It's such a cool shirt.
And this is my favorite shirt.
The squee.
So we do have some shirts that are just for general doll collectors, not just smart dolls. So like we try and put some of that stuff out there. I got one today that we haven't put out yet, but it's kind of fun, that John made, that says I work hard so my doll's gonna have a better wardrobe.
Isn't that the truth?
Working on some of the cool stuff.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, honestly, a lot of that stuff is just like, it's the same thing. You can literally, like, you go to like a dog website of like shirts, like, and it's just like, I could take any of these shirts and replace dog with doll and it still works.
My Boston Terrier is smarter than your honor students.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that's where Danny came up with his thing, right? For the Keep Calm and Carry a Smart Doll.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Took one word out, changed it, put Smart Doll in.
And that's where we started. John recreated the Keep Calm shirt because
Mhm.
people were saying, when are you going to do Keep Calm shirts for humans? And Danny
And I
was
just
like,
wanted
I'm
one.
not, because
Mhm.
it's just too much work.
Mhm.
So it's just not worth it.
I was so lucky I was able to get one of those Keep Calm shirts from Danny, like back in the day when he was selling shirts. The only problem is that I didn't factor in the fact that, you know, as you get older sometimes maybe you gain a little bit weight because you eat too much, but like I can't even fit in that shirt anymore. Like, so now I have this Keep Calm Carry Smart Doll shirt that I just can't fit in anymore. And like it's just sitting in my closet. I was thinking about maybe framing it and maybe using that as my backdrop behind me,
That's
but
actually not a bad idea. Or turn
yeah.
it into a pillow or something.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking about doing something like that because I can't fit in that shirt no more. It just.
I really want some like the old CJ Night like festival stuff
Oh yeah, yeah.
shirts. Those are great.
Those are
I
good
would
shirts.
thought about, I mean, I could recreate them, but I won't, because you know they're like, it's just it's like all the old limited edition shirts and stuff. I don't think I'm gonna ever touch. I'm sure he'd probably be fine with it, but it's just a weird, like, they're so timely, and like they're like from that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wish I got the umbrella that he made back in the day, the Mirai umbrella, but I missed out on that one. I want
Just
that Mirai umbrella.
so much stuff.
But yeah, he's focused more on his just dolls now. He doesn't really have T-shirt for humans anymore, or any of those goods that he used to have.
Similar to what we talk about, and this is funny, like it's when Sandy and I talk about stuff on the news, and she makes a speculation. I have one rule when I speculate about what Danny is going to do, and from a business standpoint, is it high effort to do that? Then he's probably not going to do it. And that comes back to the T-shirts too. You know,
Right.
like we don't do people have asked for doll T-shirts, like they want us to produce like the My Lady Disdain T-shirt on a doll T-shirt so they can so now we're talking about actually making product ourselves, and even that alone we probably wouldn't do it. Like, we run a YouTube channel, we don't run, like, we do run a T-shirt business, but
I don't have an Etsy shop for sewing. When I make stuff, I do it because it's something that I want to make, or I do it for the channel.
It's the thought is going because of chat. Smart Doll Sandwich. I love my Smarty shirt that I got from y'all that I refuse to wear regularly. I love it so much. I hate to get it worn out. Okay, I think it's, forget if it comes nowhere. Wash it inside out.
Yes, that's a good tip.
Inside out.
Yeah, anything with graphics, wash it inside out. Definitely.
I have to say that, like, I don't always make sure that our shirts are turned inside out and they still look great. Like,
yeah, I mean, we have some of our earlier shirts, like they're starting to go. They will wear, like everything will wear. It lasted a lot longer than all my Redbubble shirts. They're just they're gone.
yeah.
But it is, you know, it's about what's easier. One of the other things that is hard to do, integrating any physical stuff. We've thought about pins, like enamel pins are really big again.
Oh yeah, it's pretty popular.
And fun to have like our new our new avatars on some pins or whatever. But then you've got to deal with, all right, we're paying it, and then we're holding on to inventory, so we're investing in it, and then we're holding. Then we've got to deal with shipping. Now there is a cool option, but I don't think we're big enough to do it yet, which is Printful actually has the ability to hold inventory at their.
I've heard about that, yeah.
And so you can do things like, it could be holding like a card insert. You could have an insert that's going to go in with all of your stuff, or enamel pins you want to sell a product. But it's like minimum like $20 a month. I'm like, there's no way we sell enough to make it worth dumping $20 a month on enamel pins that are never going to, you know, sell it. So, you know, if we were, I don't know, I'll be interested to see when the day comes that we're like, all right, the next big milestone will be like 10K. It comes that we are 10K subscribers, and what is the t-shirt business like then? Like that would be, again, I don't know what numbers we're gonna have to be doing to decide that it's worthwhile doing that, but
right.
Usagi says that they and their sister love the lack of dolls shirts so much that they ordered the sweatshirts.
yeah.
They also
Yeah.
seem to like pins too.
Yeah, there was a weekend that I spent, and this is to give you another idea of the effort that goes in, because let's add on top of all that stuff. I don't know who I'm like, am I talking somebody out of something, or if I'm just like trying to get pity here, but there was a weekend where I needed to add like I wanted to add a notice. I got some feedback about there's a vinegary smell to the t-shirts, and this is a standard. There's a fixing agent that they use to on the t-shirts to like on all print-on-demand t-shirts.
Yeah, on the sublimation printing, they use a vinegar solution to fix the design in.
Yeah, it's an all-natural solution. I don't think it's. I mean, maybe there's vinegar in it. I don't know, but and basically, the answer is wash your shirt. Like you should always wash your shirt before you wear it. Just wash your shirt, the smell will go away.
Right.
And so I was like, I've got a notice. I need to just make sure more people are educated on this, just in case, so that they're aware that like this is A, it's perfectly normal. B, it goes away after a wash. And I had at the time, I don't know, 60 SKUs, 60 individual products on the site. T-shirts, sweatshirts. I mean, there's some unreleased stuff like artwork and mugs, and like it is big. And it's like every shirt has two versions. You got the unisex version and the women's version. So I'm sitting there going, I'm gonna have to open up every single product and copy and paste this text into the description. Gonna be a nightmare. So instead, I spent about the same amount of time completely rewriting the whole website to templatize it so that I could write it in one place and have it apply to everything.
And it would apply. Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
So I have a description. Everything gets a unique description. And now I've got it's the typical, it's the developer in me, the side of me.
It's
which is I'm lazy.
in you.
Well, there is that, yeah. It was just like, I spent an entire weekend just redesigning and rebuilding everything so that I never had to do that again.
Nico's saying sell some of the pins online and sell at conventions. We are actually talking about, well, at least I am. I shouldn't say we.
Is this a conversation that we've never had, but we're about to have live?
We're about to have it live.
We talked about going to the doll show in Dallas in February.
Yes.
And because I think Kat and Ben, Magical Little Kit Kat, they're gonna go and have a table. So we may end up having some stuff and going. We're not sure.
I have to find out the legality of walking around with, wearing a t-shirt and taking Square on our phone or whatever. I actually specifically made a QR code for our website just so we could go, if you're interested here, just go to the website, buy it. But that's the nice thing about, even if I were to do that, I don't know. Do people ever do that where they do still complete virtual purchasing even at a point of an in-person point of sale?
Yeah, I mean, you do a lot of Artist Alley stuff. Do you ever see that?
People sometimes do it. Like if they don't have enough of the product with them, like if they and they ran out at the show, but they know they still have some more back at their house or their home base or whatever.
So they probably bring we've only bought medium, large, and extra large. But if you need a smaller, you can order it.
Yeah, they could still order it there. Like,
I just want to walk around selling without having a booth. That
I don't know if they will actually let you do that though. I think if they notice
on the
it,
DL.
they will probably stop you. I think you have to have an actual vendor table and space to
just
do
like,
that.
I'll just walk in with a trench coat and just be like, you want some shirts?
But I mean, I guess you could try. I don't know, but you would have to ask Batman Jackson.
Just put a backpack on with pins in it. I would be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is just my collection. It just happens to all be my stuff.
What I would probably do is each of us wear a shirt, and if somebody asks about the shirt, then I would say, here, go here, and just be done with it. And then it's just, someone asks and I'm answering their question.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, so moving on, because we that actually took a longer tangent than I thought we would. So the next section that I kind of want to talk about is because we already talked about a lot of stuff today. We talked about the two of you, your origin stories, how you got into the hobby, how you started your channel, the ups and downs of having a doll channel, and things like that. So let's say we want to talk to the audience about if somebody wants to start their own channel. Let's give them a couple tips, some tricks. And I know along the way through today's episodes, we've pretty much hit a lot of them as we went. But some, couple things, just to stand out is, one of the things that helped me a lot, and I think it has also helped you a lot, as you mentioned it before, is that when you want to start your own channel and you do research, you just find other channels. Like, there's just other channels out there that will help you get your YouTube channel started, such as, camera channels, sound channels, editing channels. There's all different kinds. Like, all of my editing skills came from YouTube. Like, I just typed in how to edit a transition or something like that, and you get all these videos, and that's how I learned. Yeah, exactly. So, for the audience that's watching, I know that you already highlighted to me there's a couple channels that you wanted to mention. So let's touch upon that.
Yeah, I mean, I would, to me, well, before we talk about like the channels for like YouTube business side of the business, like the YouTube hobby, the doing of it, I would say the first thing I could say is watch every video you can find in your niche. What are people doing?
Right.
Know your market backwards and forwards. It's how we got started. It's just we literally spent 2 weeks binging videos on it, and we tend to do it. Every now and then you got to do a check-in. Kind of like you did when you took your break and you started taking some time to watch more. You want to stay up to date with what's going on.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely good advice, because to know what people want to see.
What you think works and what are they what doesn't. How can you improve?
And also one of the other tricks, and this is specifically from the first channel that I've already mentioned. One of the tricks there is to look for like the spikes. Look for the unnaturally high videos. What are the videos that went crazy, that went way more than their average? But only look like over the past year. Anything past a year is too old.
It's already out of the trend. Like nobody's doing it anymore, pretty much.
So it's not what people are interested in. At the very least, let alone like the trends. It's old. People aren't interested. They're probably not even touching that video anymore.
YouTube is ever evolving.
Yeah, that specific tip I got from Channel Makers. It's a really, really good channel.
Channel Makers is really good. He actually just did a video that was something like, I guess, and it could actually be a tip for people getting started, is you are interesting. It doesn't matter, like, if you go through, like, people go through, like, I don't know, people aren't going to want to watch me. People aren't, like, I don't really have anything to offer. Just in general, you are interesting. And you just have to figure out who your audience is. But you're a person, you're interesting, you have a story to tell.
Right.
Yeah. So he is like definitely, and his is about the business of YouTube, basically, of
Mhm.
running and managing your channel.
Mhm.
Um, the second one that I find is about editing, but it's on the YouTube editing for YouTube side and storytelling, which is really useful, which is Film Booth. Ed is the guy that does that, and he's one of those people, like, he does, it's not just, it's not of like how to use Final Cut Pro. Like, it's not what it's about. It's about how to make engaging videos, how to tell a story in your video. And it bleeds into like the, doing good thumbnails and stuff like that. But it's so it's a little bit on the YouTube side and the editing side. He had a whole thing where he's like, I watched like 1,000 hours of Mr. Beast video, and this is
Mr. Beast.
this is where it works, kind of thing. And he actually did a pretty cool like job of like breaking down why Mr. Beast videos, who's like the most prolifically huge
Oh yeah,
YouTuber
yeah.
ever, why they work, what they're doing specifically, like in the editing and
Mhm.
things like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mr. Beast is that's a one big channel.
you're never gonna be Mr. Beast. Let's just
Yeah.
get that out of the way.
And it's just strange how he grew so fast. Like one of
Yeah.
the fastest growing channels ever, like so quickly. But yeah, that's definitely, good advice. I definitely looked at Film Booth, and he has some really nice stuff. One of the places that I look at is for Peter McKinnon. Like I get a lot of inspiration from Peter McKinnon and his editing style. He does do some tutorials and things like that, and some vlogs and things. So he has a wide variety of topics and shows that he has. But I really like his channel, and I watch a lot of his stuff when it comes to YouTube, I guess you could say.
It just, you search on YouTube for editing on YouTube or editing tips or
Hmm.
the best blah blah blah. Just keep. I think one of the greatest skills that I have as a problem solver or a person figuring stuff out is getting good at searching
Mm.
and search terms. It could take practice, but just knowing how, like on YouTube, it's actually more of how other people search. So it's you want to think about how does another person look it up? But
Right.
just typing in whatever you want and then finding, just go on a rabbit hole of just like go from video to video, and then if somebody interests you, just watch a bunch of their stuff.
Hmm.
And then again, like there's all this mystery to the algorithm too, because like we're constantly getting people, well, not constantly, but we often get people that are like, I have no idea why your channel was recommended to me, but I'm kind of glad.
Hmm.
I didn't even know what a smart doll was, but I don't collect dolls, but I like watching your channel.
I always want like a bell to ring when that happens, because it's just like, see, we made it. Like we randomly appeared on, like we broke out of the umbrella.
Right, right. No, that's true.
So the last one that I had was specifically around cameras, audio, and lighting, and again for YouTube.
Hmm.
And that's DSLR video shooter. Caleb is I just love listening to Caleb. He is really good voice. He's pleasant. He's got good quality audio and video, which if if you're going to invest in anything, it's like upping the quality of like your audio and stuff. And and then your video it goes a long way to making a really good, enjoyable experience that people are gonna want to.
Right.
There are a lot
back
of
to.
channels in our community that are doing such good work in terms of their presentation style and their unboxings and stuff. And their next step really is improve your audio, improve your video, improve your lighting.
Yeah, it definitely makes a big deal. Like, I mean, I don't have the best video editing skills or even the best like lighting. Like you could tell from my picture here, like I'm well lit, you could see me, but it's not necessarily the best kind of lighting that you could get. It could be improved more. But yeah, I mean, it does make a difference. Like every little thing that you do to make that subtle difference, people will notice it. Like I remember my very first videos were too dark. Like you could barely see anything other than my face because my face was just super lit from the ring light. And then
Right.
gradually over time, like, you kind of figure out your own way of how to get the lighting right. Like you can watch videos, but sometimes those videos, it works in a certain kind of environment, but it didn't work in the environment I had. Like, for instance, my older videos when I first started, my walls were dark green. So that didn't really lend well to lighting, is to have a really dark colored wall. So then you had to make it brighter, but then if you made it too bright in one area and not in others, you would have a weird lighting solution. So you always have to play with the lighting till you get it to the way you want it. Like I don't even have it the way I exactly want it right now. I'm still kind of playing with my settings.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the size of your room is a tough thing. You know, you
Yeah.
talked about like what do you want to put in the back thing, and I was like, if you properly lit, um, your face with a good key light,
Mm.
a softbox, you probably don't have the room for it.
Yeah, and
Like,
that's what I'm fighting with because the ring light is so big. It
yeah,
takes up so much space, so I don't really use it anymore. So now I have little LED lights that I have spread out around here, but I have them in a way where it doesn't really reflect off of my glasses anymore. But it will if
yeah,
I turn certain ways. Like you could see it kind of right there if I turn like this. But
Mhm.
getting it in this room is really tricky. And then the more lights that I have in here, the hotter it gets in this room too because I have no air conditioning. So I have
right.
like three
So good in the
lights.
winter.
Yeah, I have like three lights, and then I have my computer, and then my battery backup, and then like my two monitors. Like everything's like giving off heat, and there's no air circulation. So like,
Yeah. Space is so important. It
space
was
is
so hard when
important.
we were doing this up in my little photo studio, our old guest room, and even here, like I had to move the piano out of this room to really try and get like the
Hmm.
right amount of depth in here, and to be able to like this table was up in a corner against the wall, which means now it has a cutout behind there for where the camera is and stuff, but
Right.
like there's not enough room, there's only enough room for the one ring light on a post like you have,
Right.
and be able to pull this out more but still have the depth we're looking for, and be able to have a larger light, a larger soft box, and to have it up there you can see there it is. um
Yeah.
so again, getting it away from so you're not going to see it all the time. It takes space. That's
Hmm.
literally like that's all it takes at that point.
Yeah.
I think that this is a constant conversation in our house too. John is always tweaking things and always, I mean, like we are constantly shifting the table just a little bit or adding a new light or putting
Hmm.
something new on the wall. It's just a constant, minute change.
Well, that's sort of my mantra with YouTube in general. It's just make every video better than the last. Like
Yeah. No,
that is my goal.
that's a good mantra for sure. 100%.
It's hard, but it's like, all right, what can I work on? What can I improve?
Hmm.
Sometimes improving is just getting better about the pre-production steps that I'm supposed to be doing, so to make sure that they happen, or
Hmm.
what am I going to need to do to make sure that is always happening. Like
Right.
something needs to get better and
Right.
hopefully easier.
So, for some examples that we can give our viewers here that we're talking about, switch views here. I just want to show like a couple things. Now, when you do your own YouTube video, you're going to need equipment, right? But you don't have to have the equipment. I mean, if you really wanted to go on low budget, you could just do everything on your phone. You could just take your phone out, record yourself, blah, 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 and upload your videos. But if you wanted to take it one step further, there are like little progressions that you can do. So a couple things that you can use. Let's talk cameras here. So you could just get yourself a webcam if you really wanted to. It's fairly inexpensive nowadays to buy
That webcam
webcams.
specifically is the one I use for work, and it's actually really good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's 1080p. It's not too bad. I mean, it's not 4K, but it'll still give you
Sure.
a decent video. And it has a microphone built in, so you don't have to buy an external microphone if you don't want to. But that's just one way that you could step up your game. If you wanted to take it a little bit further, I mean, you could go to the extreme and get yourself like a nice DSLR camera. But you're talking about difference in prices. Like you can get a webcam for maybe like $100, $150 maybe. But these DSLR cameras will give you The thing that you have to be careful with is it gives you amazing quality, but it costs you a lot of money. Like you're talking from the cheapest DSLRs, I think maybe around $500, $450. But then
I would say 5 to 6 is probably, there's probably something 5 to 7 maybe to stretch it,
Mhm.
that you can find like if you do your research,
Yeah.
find
Because I was thinking
high
something
quality
like
hits the marks, and
I was thinking something that gives you like 1080p, like a
no, you can
like a
get 4K
Canon
at
Rebel.
that level.
You can get a Canon Rebel for like $350, maybe $400.
You have for I think 900 or something like that. The one of the newer Olympus OMD10 E10. Oh, God, I
Mhm.
can't remember all the stupid numbers. There's an Olympus one that is micro four thirds lenses, which is it's I don't want to get bogged down in the types of lenses, but it's a particular type of lens that is lighter weight and smaller, and it actually crops the sensors crop more of it. What that means is when you see a lens advertised that is like a 50 millimeter lens, the micro four thirds actually crops it down, and it acts like 100 millimeter lens. It doubles. It essentially zooms in, if you will. Um, by the way, they're very lightweight. They're great. Some of the best video cameras. The Panasonic G5.
Yeah, that's a good
for
one.
instance, is a micro four thirds lens. So there are good options there for doll photography and stuff. It's actually kind of nice because you can get really close. For YouTube, it's pretty decent, but you tend to want wide angle.
Yeah, for YouTube,
Um,
definitely you want like a wide angle lens.
which is
That will
harder
help you
to
out a
get
lot.
because
And
in order to
they're
get, for
expensive
instance,
too.
yeah, the whatchamacallit, we use roughly a 28 millimeter lens to get this view, and we would have to buy a 14 millimeter lens to get that to be that same look on a micro four thirds. So it gets a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Again, but I think it all depends. For YouTube specifically, I actually we ended up investing higher end up into like what is this, I think about 2000
Something like that.
for our camera, which is the S5, and it's a full frame sensor, which means when the lens says it's 35 millimeters, it's 35 millimeters.
Yeah. I also went a little bit higher. Like when my first camera though wasn't. My first camera was like a small little Canon Rebel. But nowadays, like I use a Canon 80D. I don't know why I can't say that. 80D. And it cost me around, I think it was like $1,600 for that one. But it didn't have a lens. So you had to buy the lens. So this is the problem. Like if you want to start YouTube and you want to start out small, I think these webcams are great. But if you really want to,
I would lean towards an iPhone myself,
or an iPhone, I guess. But if you want to go the DSLR route, the one thing that new people have to understand that it's a huge learning process, because not only do you have to get the right DSLR that works for you, but you have to get the right lens. And depending on what kind of a YouTube channel is, you might need multiple lenses. And then, as opposed,
we ended up getting, because we knew we were going to be doing. I do photography with it, and I do this. We got a rather, the lens that's all well, I think it was about 1,000-ish, is about 50% the cost of the camera.
Yeah.
Really good quality.
But it's expensive.
But it's a zoom that goes from like 20 to 70 or something like that. So I can adapt to what I need, and I knew that would last me as one lens. You may find that the lens that comes with it is enough, but it's hard to know until you
get out there. Yeah.
The less room you have, the wider angle you want, which means the lower the number on that lens you want it to be.
We use, for our top down, we use iPhone.
Yep.
For your what? I'm
iPhone
sorry.
is fantastic. iPhone doesn't do depth of field very well. It doesn't do nice, blurry background.
I used to use my iPhone for when I do close-ups of unboxings. So usually when I used to do like, let's take a close-up view of this doll, that would be my iPhone. That wasn't my studio camera.
Having your camera be your phone is a really good cost savings. And because you got to have a phone, and it's like for most people it will last a very long time. It just, I wanted the YouTube look. I wanted the I wanted the a really pleasing look to the video, and you're just everything's sharp on the phone. If you're doing recording yourself, there's a lot of great options now with the it does the it does like the automatic AI like detection of you and then blurring the background and stuff that. And it could do that in video to some extent. If you're live streaming, that's harder to do, but like if you're doing it yourself, there's some interesting options there now.
And there's interesting apps. There's apps for the iPhone that make doing all of that recording and stuff easier and organized for you. Like we use Filmic Pro.
Yep.
Which I can open up and mess with settings and use to record stuff in the sewing room, and then it goes right into a place where John can get it.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the phone is that you can get apps if you get into it, and you're getting a little bit more involved in the editing side. You can get higher quality video than the regular video that the camera records, and you can actually record. I record what's called vlog, and basically it's a flat color, like, and it looks washed out, quite honestly.
Right. You don't do raw footage?
No, there's very little need to shoot in raw. I find we're not doing it's just so much space, and the
it does take a lot of space.
The other thing I would suggest, get yourself a color card like this. This is the Calibrate Color Checker Video Passport, I think, which is the Color Checker Passport.
Right. That checks your white balance and stuff.
It's except it does like all of those colors, and you can have software in your editing software, and you target that, and it reads all of those things and corrects for all of these values, not just white balance. So it's making sure the skin tones are good, the more vibrant colors are good.
So he has me use it when I remember. He has me use it when I'm recording in the sewing room.
No, I see you do this.
Every time I do a short clip, I put it down so that he can make everything look the same.
It's one of those things where you would think people won't care that much about it, but we got a surprising amount of people, and some people have like eyes like I do, where they will notice small differences in colors or things not being quite right. We had comments early on.
Why are you guys so red? Why are you so orange?
Or even just like this, the stuff like we're trying to show. We're showing off product, right? We're doing like high res video, close up, holding it up to the camera. And if this is that one extra step that I do to make sure that it's consistent through all our videos, but also that it's actually accurate as we can be to what you would see.
And just so the audience knows, this is something that you would use if you're using like an off camera, like a DSLR or something like that.
I use this with the iPhone.
You use it with the iPhone? It works with the iPhone too?
It works with everything, because all it does is you take the picture, and if it's messed up, it fixes it. It's all on the software side, so you could use this.
I've used things like that before on my DSLRs. I've actually never tried using it on my phone. Maybe I should try that. But
it should correct everything. I mean, the software, in the end, it's software that you have to have installed inside, like a plugin in whatever you're editing, your video editing software is.
Right. So going next, so there's different options. Like we said, you can use your phone, you could use like a webcam, you could go even as far as buying an expensive DSLR. But the
Work
next
up to
thing,
it.
what's that?
Work up to
Work
it.
up to it, exactly.
Work the bare minimum. Start doing it. Start making content.
Yeah, don't think that you have to buy
Yeah,
a
don't-
$2,000
yeah.
camera right away.
Don't buy it first off. That's a big mistake.
Maybe like a year.
Mhm.
So then next we're going to talk about is lighting. So a lot of people that get into YouTube, one of the big things that people get is ring lights. I know I got it. It was my first lighting thing is I got a ring light. I don't know if that was yours. I know you mentioned that you guys had a ring light, but
It was one of the last things we brought in.
Was it the last
one
one?
of the ones that is what I got when I set it up here in this room for the first time.
yeah, I didn't know really how to set up for doing YouTube videos. And like John said, I also did research on YouTube and seeing what was going on. And at the time when I started my channel, ring lights were big. Like it was a big deal. Nowadays, you don't see too many people talking about ring lights as much as they used to.
I mean, I think they still use them though. I mean, the benefit of a
They have their
ring light-
uses, yeah.
Well, the benefit of a ring light, especially for the case of a YouTube video, is what you want is a very large, broad light source. And so that ring is creating that. It's creating that light from all sorts of
Right.
Of angles. It's not there's nothing in the middle, so it's not as good as the next step up. But considering the price point, it allows you to get a really good even light around your face, etc.
And the good thing about them too is you could see in the middle there's like a little stand here where you can put your camera on. So your camera kind of goes in the middle of the ring light, and then you have the ring all around the camera to light up your subject. The only bad thing
for like phones and stuff.
Yeah, the only bad thing that, at least in my opinion, that happens with the ring lights is you get the ring on your glasses. Like
we run into the glare from our glasses.
all of my earlier videos like have these big like circles of light on my glasses because of the ring light.
And for those without glasses, that is probably the driving factor in the popularity of ring lights.
Yeah.
It creates a pretty cool ring specular highlight in the eye, which looks cool in the eye, not in glasses.
Yeah, not in glasses.
You don't want in reflections anyway. I mean, it
Yeah.
really doesn't matter if it's a ring light or not. It's reflections in your glasses are not great.
Yeah.
I used to also use the other thing with glasses is I also used to wear transitions. And
Okay.
if the
Yeah.
lights are bright enough, it would actually it triggers my glasses.
Yeah.
I don't wear transitions anymore, but I did.
Yeah.
And I'm also John has a battle all the time because I am like notoriously difficult to light
Mm.
because of the very neutral light color of my skin, and I have a lot of planes in my face.
Mm.
And so, like, even as an actor, I was always, for one thing, they called me the ghost at UConn. Like, the lighting designers would like beg me to skip my break so that they could like get the lights right for me.
Mm.
And so like I'm a very difficult person to light. The light's got to hit the planes of your face in just the right way.
I don't pay attention to any of that. I
But-
just put up the lights.
But yes, I mean we have to make sure that we have decent light.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want inexpensive lighting, obviously, I mean, you could just film by a window, get natural light. Natural light is very good, but it limits your filming time to when there's natural light,
Right.
which is a problem
Right.
for individuals like me that have to film at night. So, I mean, I always use a ring light. But if you did want to go inexpensive, you know, try filming during the day for natural light, or you can even use like household like lamps or things around, but there's like little tricks that you have to get to make them work. Sometimes people do like a lamp with like a white bed sheet in front of it to kind of diffuse the harshness of the light and kind of diffuse the color. There's like
It's
little
gotta be
kind
a
of
bright. I mean, you need bright light. That's the problem. You need big, bright, as bright as you can get.
Well, it's not
and-
so hard to do that nowadays because nowadays you go to like Home Depot and stuff. They have like those daylight bulbs. So you get those bulbs that do like daylight or like 4,000 lumens or whatever. So it really depends. But I mean, if you really wanted to kind of get on the cheaper side, I mean, there's ways around it. You don't necessarily have to buy like a ring light, or this next thing that I'm going to talk about, which is pretty popular now, are LED lights.
Yeah.
That's what I use now in my studio because they're so small. Like I have one like this that's really, really small, and they're like spread out throughout my little office here.
Right there.
Yeah, so the LED lights are pretty big because they're small, they're space saving, they're not as big, and they dole out a lot of light.
You could see the one reflection that I haven't gotten rid of.
Right. But it works though, because that one reflection kind of serves as like a little key light for the back. So it kind of
that's not what's
helps.
actually that's not our hair light. We have lights up there for hair lights.
Oh, you have other lights, but it's
yeah, I know. I installed.
It's pretty funny
right up here. Just
it's too bad we didn't have something set up so that we could show.
I thought about it. That's why I got my phone out to see. I'll see if I can. I'm going to do a very quick experiment while you're talking through that. I'm going to see if I can remote from my phone and show you what I have.
But yeah, I mean, you could buy like there's all different kinds of studio lights that you can buy if you really wanted to get into it. I mean, there's softbox lights, there's big bulb lights with like umbrellas and things like that. But that's usually if you have a lot of space. And for individuals like myself in my channel, I don't have a lot of space. So these small little LED lights that pump out a lot of power are really great for what I do. And they're relatively inexpensive. Depending on what brand that you go for, you can get them fairly cheap, as opposed to like big old like soft boxes and umbrella lights. Some of those can go for a lot of money.
Right.
So it really depends on what you go for. But I think nowadays in today's climate, I think a lot of people are adopting the whole LED light thing right now. It's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of like even these lights. You get like $100 to $200. You can get a 2-pack with stands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just upgraded our main key light. Here is an Amarin D60 or no 60D, and that's getting much more into the like the more serious video lights, but that was like $250 I want to say for one light, and a softbox, but it puts out a lot of light, and it's ridiculous how much light it puts out.
Mm-hmm.
I would strongly recommend you check out the DSLR video shooter channel. Caleb puts. You can go to that channel. You can find like there's like 3 or 4 different versions of YouTube studio desks setups of like here's a desk, monitor arms, and it's like got a breakdown of everything they're using in that setup, all the prices, links out to Amazon, etc. And he's even got one that's portable, and so it's like there's a lot of good recommendations out there for what to use, and in the end it's just like get as much light as you can afford,
right?
like,
but these are just just little things that you could do to upgrade your game as you progress through YouTube. Again, just remember, you don't have to really spend anything to start your YouTube channel, but if you wanted to evolve your channel and take it in steps and stuff, you can eventually make your way and move your way up to getting like really good camera equipment and really good lighting equipment. But these are just some things that I personally started out with and currently use that I thought would be pretty interesting to share. And then next up, let's talk about sound. So sound is pretty big. I remember when I first started, I started with this regular shotgun mic. This was my first microphone.
Video Mic Pro?
Yeah, like a Video Mic Pro. I started with that for a studio thing because I thought it was going to be versatile. I used it in the studio and I used it in vlogs when I was out and about shooting videos, and it worked really well and it served its purpose. But for studio sound, I have now moved over to my Yeti mic. So now I use like a Yeti mic for my studio. I still use the Rode, but only when I go outside now. But for in my studio, I usually have this. You guys can see it. It's like in frame. Like have this little camera, this little thing here. Can I move it in? That's about as far as it reaches out. But yeah, I mean, I have that. You don't really have to buy these things when you start out, but you can always upgrade your game to different things. They have boom mics too, where like there's like a whole stand, and then like it hangs over like above your head, just kind of like pointing
The
at you.
shotgun mic is what's on a boom usually.
Right, but
so
I'm thinking of like, you know, those ones that are like, I don't know the exact name for it, but they kind of look like a ball, and then there's like all this fuzz around it for the wind diffuser or the sound diffuser or something like that. I forgot what
I don't know. There's a lot of
those
different
are.
types that are balls.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones, but this is the one
Um,
that I personally started out with. This was my first microphone.
and those are pretty decent. I mean, the upgrade to that would usually be the NTG.
Mhm.
Um, there's some that are actually like XLR, which is like the pro audio
Oh yeah,
plug.
yeah.
Which usually you don't. Well, it's doable. You'd have to get an adapter, but
Mhm.
um, you've got like one. I think there's two general directions that I find that most people should kind of go after, and that's either a lavalier microphone.
We used labs for a while.
Mhm.
And that for me that works especially if there's you and you alone. There's a little bit of like phasing and weirdness recording two labs like right next to
Oh
each
yeah,
other.
yeah. That's something I never had to deal with because it was just me.
Yeah. So you got the clip-on mics, and there actually the recommendations I have are all Rode at this point. The Rode Wireless Go Microphone 2, I
Mhm.
think is the one now. It actually comes with I think two mics, and it's a wireless clip-on, so you can clip on a receiver onto your camera,
Mhm. Right.
plug in with the cable, and then you have either a clip-on mic that you could, but they're kind of bulky. You don't usually use that, or you buy a reasonably decent lav mic and plug it into that little receiver,
Mhm.
and then you don't have to deal with cables running around. We had issues again with being two people and needing to capture both of us. So I'm going to risk bad sound. This is probably, I apologize because I'm about to move the boom and it's probably gonna go boom. So we use a Rode Video Mic NTG. It is a shotgun mic, but I have added. Okay, we'll talk here. Um, so you can see about this much of it. This is a Chaotica. I forget the thing. I think it's called the Eyeball. This is essentially a mic isolation booth. So this is my way of dealing with all the sound, the reverb in the room, and
Mhm.
everything,
Right.
without having to put like foam all over the walls.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but it does pretty well most of the time, except for when you're in Zoom, apparently.
Yeah, Zoom is finicky, so sometimes it doesn't really. It's not the most optimal of the uses, but it gets the job done at least for now. But yeah, I mean that's a very good example of like a nice sound setup that you have there. Like I said, I don't have that anymore because I used to have the shotgun mic, but
I'll
a much
100 for the mic.
different kind of shotgun mic I have. But now I have just this Yeti microphone that I use for the studio.
Decent. The only thing I don't like about the Yetis is they get a lot of room noise. They really have a broad no. Now
Yeah.
over Zoom and stuff, you sound totally fine.
Yeah.
But they're a very sensitive microphone.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to
Um,
play with the settings to get it the way
yeah, you
you
got to
want
go
it.
real low gain, turn the volume way down on the mic, and get nice and close to it.
Hmm.
And then works somewhat reasonably well. But it's again, it's just doing your research. There's a couple. I would strongly recommend Rode in general. They've got a lot of
Yeah, Rode has good stuff. Yeah.
like in that sub 200 range that you can kind of play with, depending on how much you're ready to invest in better audio.
Let me
Mhm.
shove the butter back there.
For sure. So let me see here. Changing views again.
It says They're impressed we're all still awake.
So the next thing that I want to talk about is just like software, and we can go over this like pretty quickly because we already kind of talked about it already.
Mhm.
But with software, there's different programs that are available to you, and you can get paid programs and free programs. I think John has some very good examples of some free programs that he has found and discovered that I didn't know about. But some general programs here that a lot of YouTubers use is if you have a PC, a lot of people use Premiere Pro for editing. If you have a Mac, a lot of people use Final Cut Pro. I personally use Premiere Pro because I'm on a Windows PC. And I think, John, you said you use Final Cut, right? Because you're on a Mac?
I've been editing in Final Cut for,
Right.
I don't know, 20 years.
Now, I know Premiere Pro, I have to pay a subscription to use it. I don't know about Final Cut. Is Final Cut free or?
Final Cut is like a few $100s and then done.
Okay, so it's like one
Yep.
price, and that's it. Yeah. So for me, I have to pay a
You get
subscription.
updates.
For me, I have to pay a subscription, so I'm constantly paying for mine. But if you have a Final Cut Pro, one price you're done. So that's a pretty nice thing. And then like if you want to edit like your thumbnails, I use Photoshop to edit all my thumbnails and to edit my pictures and things. There are obviously that's a pay subscription again, but you can use free programs as well.
They've got a lot of packages, right? Like
Yeah.
I use. What is your subscription package?
Well, at first, because I was only using Premiere Pro, so I was only paying for Premiere Pro at $25 a month.
Yep.
But then I wanted to use Photoshop, and that was going to add another $20 a month. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money for two programs. But then they have a bundle deal for like $55 a month. You get everything. So now I
Right.
pay $55 a month, and I get the whole suite. So I have everything: a Photoshop, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Lightroom, all of it.
I strongly recommend. I mean, there are a lot of free editing options, but I strongly recommend getting the photographer's subscription for $20 a month. That gives you both of the Lightrooms, Photoshop, and I think a gig of storage space on their the cloud or whatever.
Mhm.
It's well worth it, and like the amount of time savings once and they're actually pretty easy techniques, but the amount of time savings that you can go open up, like I open up picture. I do this is how I make a thumbnail for the news. I have a basic template. I have a background and and some text on there, but I open up a picture a product shot that Danny puts up of a doll. I open it in Photoshop. I hit a button that says select subject.
Right.
I copy it. I go over to the other one. I paste, and then I just resize it.
Right.
Where I want it to be. I'm done.
Exactly.
Like, it is so much faster, and no software has really anything close to its ability to isolate the subject quickly.
Right. Yeah. Premiere Pro. Photoshop is really good at doing that. I do the same thing. Like I'll have like a picture, crop it out.
I would actually even say for your photographer fans, not less about YouTube, but for photographers, all that stuff is like pretty recently getting added really well into Lightroom. So now, like, there's a lot of times where you don't even have to open up Photoshop anymore. You can just isolate the subject and then tweak something on it.
Right. Yeah. Lightroom has like all these new settings that you can like adjust. Whereas before it was just kind of like color balance and light balance. But now there's like
There's
a lot
you
more.
could do, but there's a lot of brushing stuff in. And now that they've brought in like select the sky or select the subject, the ability to combine those selections in various ways.
Right.
It's
the only thing I would have to say though is if you're new, like myself, if you're new to like programs like Photoshop, it is not easy to learn.
There's a learning curve, but once you
It's a huge learning curve.
There's the whole suite, and everything works pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Also, I would say use YouTube and Google. YouTube's not a verb. I wanted to search on YouTube for like, what are you trying to get? So how to make thumbnails with Photoshop. Like you will find a lot of great simple techniques for that. And it's one of those things like you may not do much with it at first, but the ability to easily composite things together it's well worth it. If you're totally not like doing photography at all and literally all you're doing is thumbnails, then I don't know, like being able to take the subject out is so useful though. I have a hard time imagining making thumbnails without the ability to like instantly remove somebody out of a picture.
Although sometimes you do have to finagle a little bit, because sometimes when you do select subject, it'll copy the whole subject, but then like miss like a small part of it that you have to kind of like get back in. But even so, even if it does do that, it's not hard to touch it up a little bit.
You can go in and select and stuff.
Yeah.
And even in like
there's like
20
different ways you can select.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation. So,
but it is definitely a really cool program. And very easy to use, but it's very easy to use once you figure out how to use it. That's what it is.
It's not easy to use. It's very powerful, but worth the effort to learn it, even if it's just to learn the 5 things you need to do. Like, I think part of it is learning what to ignore. Like, what are the things you just don't need to look at? But again, it's all of the stuff, like all of this stuff I self-taught on, and it's a lot of it is done through YouTube videos.
Right.
And
I'm the same way. Like everything I learned on editing videos and using Photoshop was all on YouTube. And I just YouTubed it. There's so many great videos out there teaching you how to use these programs. I'm only saying that it's a learning curve because before I started using these programs, I was using like little things like Microsoft Paint, and like just making a square in Microsoft Paint was just so much easier than learning how to make a square in Photoshop. Like now that I know how to make the square in Photoshop, now it's relatively easy just to make a square. But like at the very beginning, I was like, "Where's the pen tool?" So I could just make a square.
For making squares, I think they eventually added the shape tool. It was a long time before they had the shape tool. You would have to like select with a marquee, a rectangle selector, and then fill, and then that's permanently there. It's not really movable.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like it's a learning curve, just like anything else. It's a learning curve for sure. And then if you wanted to take it the next step and you wanted to do streaming like John and Sandy do, and like I do, you can use streaming programs such as OBS. I personally use Streamlabs. But I think John said he uses OBS.
Streamlabs?
It's free. I don't pay anything.
Yeah, I thought it was. I'm not sure why I thought it was paid.
There is a paid version. There is a paid version that offers you like all these other different things that you can do with it. But I just use the free one, and it works perfectly fine for my needs and what I need to do with it. OBS is another one that I have the picture of here. That one is 100% free. You don't really need to pay anything for that. They do have a donation service if you wanted to donate them for all their efforts. There is a there is a donate tab for them as well. But if you wanted to take your level to the your YouTube channel to the next level, you could do streaming, and these are some of the programs that you can use. I know
there is a subscriber requirement.
Yeah.
For YouTube, yeah. For YouTube, you need 1,000 subscribers, I think, in order to live stream. I think it's what it is, or maybe a little bit lower.
So. It's not 1,000 because we definitely were not 1,000 when we started doing it from the computer. So from streaming software on your computer, you can do it earlier. Yeah. I'm guessing it's 500.
It's 1,000 to use your
mobile.
To use mobile,
which I think they're lowering.
I see. Okay.
But mobile is starting. Mobile streaming is coming a bit bigger.
Yeah, I didn't get into the streaming game until like fairly recently, and I was already way past 1,000 at that point. So I thought it was 1,000, but I guess not.
I would say, I mean, we've showed this before, but this is Stream Deck. Now it's not on because the software is not compatible with the new version of OBS. But this is a whole bunch of buttons that are like LED things. You can see this. Danny has picture of this. He's on his desk all the time. He uses them as shortcut buttons for all sorts of things in his software. But that for me has been invaluable to be able to just set up commands and switch between different segments live back and forth without having to use my mouse at all.
Yeah, I've been doing some research on those stream decks. I actually want to get one for my setup because I don't have one yet.
Really, I have one I'm not using. If you want a smaller one.
Oh yeah, we'll talk then. We'll talk. But yeah, if you want, those are just a couple programs and some software that you can use it if you wanted, if you were so inclined and you wanted to use for YouTube.
I do want to go back and mention, because we didn't talk about it on the video side. DaVinci Resolve is a fantastic, I forget if it's an open source or not, but it's free video editing software. It's very powerful and very good, and it is becoming like the new standard for video editing. So I would, if you're not starting on any of these, start looking up tutorials on DaVinci Resolve to take a look at how that video editing software works.
That's it. Yeah, that'll definitely be good for individuals that are not yet ready to jump into paid items. So free is always good.
And you're not losing anything. That's the thing. You are not. We are talking about just as professional software as as Premiere or Final Cut.
And then let's see. Lastly, we were going to touch upon what's it called? Planning. So like when you have YouTube, and we kind of already did kind of touch upon it when we were talking earlier about like getting our channel started and things like that, but planning out your channel on like what you want it to be, what kind of topics you want to hit, and doing research on what's out there on YouTube and see the trends, see what other people are doing. It's just all part of the process of doing YouTube. Again, we really touched a lot on it, I think, earlier in the stream, but if there's any like last touches that you want to hit on it, maybe for planning that you want to tell people.
Well, I mean, as best you can, script everything. Like, the more planning you do, the better. Know exactly what you're gonna say, and we
have to be better on it than we are. Actually,
we're not great at it. It's just not taking the time. But I know that the more time we spend planning ahead of time, the shorter time we spend shooting. On the note of what we use, I actually use essentially a Kanban board, and for anyone who's in like software development or other project management type thing, is a Kanban board is basically like cards in columns, and each column is like a phase, and you move a project from one column to the next. The software I use for this is Notion. It's also the software that I'm using for the Sculpt database. It's like essentially it's a database with a UI on steroids that can do a lot. It can just be note-taking. It could be to-do lists. It could be a Kanban board. So we have a board where when I'm staying up on it, we actually have a column for like all the ideas that we have for videos. And then as those videos start doing any of the pre-production work or the filming or whatever, it moves through that. And I track, like, I add dates of when we think we're going to launch it, to try and track, kind of like what you're saying, like you're doing multiple things. You're researching one thing at the same time that you're filming another video, and trying to bounce back and forth doing that it's a lot. And the more you stay on top of knowing what's happening and tracking it, the better and easier your life is as a YouTube creator, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing we do is like, when we go to do the news, John makes an outline so that we make sure that we hit all the points that we wanted to hit. We make sure that we get in our key elements.
Bullet journal, text on paper, it doesn't matter.
I actually prefer paper. And that's one of the reasons that we should be better than we are at things, because I actually like to write things down in a journal. And John would normally actually prefer to do everything digitally. And I'm normally very much like, I'm into tech stuff. I like computers and everything, but for some reason, planning for me is much easier on paper.
Yeah, sometimes, same thing for me. Like I like tech stuff, but sometimes when it comes to planning, I definitely write things out on a notebook. Something about it being tangible or something like that, like that you can hold. I don't know. It's like a security blanket for me sometimes. So I do the same thing. Like I'll write it down instead of like putting it on like a digital program or something like that. But that's just me.
It's well, I think I mean I'm even technically like that. It's easier for me to write certain things down, but when it comes to coordinating,
It's easier to
keeping
coordinate,
track
yeah.
of like for the YouTube videos, like that thing that I'm dragging across, it contains also the script for it, the like a bunch of resources, URLs that I found, like all the research, like all of that is contained together. So it really depends on the situation. You can get a lot out of just writing it down, but you also then have to do a lot of extra legwork of repeating things sometimes or whatever.
Right.
But in the end, whatever works for you and keeps you planning.
Definitely. All right, and then that brings us to the end of the show. We've spent a lot of time talking about dolls in YouTube today, and I am very grateful for my guests being here and sharing their knowledge on what they've been through, in the doll hobby and going through YouTube. And so, lastly, for our guests out here, is there anything that you want to hint out to anybody? Any special projects you're working on? You want to give a hint to look forward to for our guests?
Well, we're always getting asked this on the news. So if you watch the news, this is probably not big news, but I mean, I know the upcoming videos that we have in front of us that are well past due are the Kintsugi prototype that we was released, I don't know, months ago.
It's
And
basically the first prototype done of Relentless, but she's on a different face sculpt.
So she's got we filmed her unboxing. She's out and about, but it's not edited and it's waiting on a costume and a video and all that fun stuff. The other one is Iki, who is our custom blue girl with a face up by Katie Moore, who is unboxed and waiting on a costume. And Batgirl, who is unboxed and waiting on a diorama finish for me to finish up the set. But making progress, and everyone keep bugging me because
and I have a hand in all of those things doing something.
All right, so I keep saying the last, but there is a small little game that I like to play with my guests at the end of every episode that I call Words Association. So since I have the two of you here, this is going to be kind of interesting. So essentially the way the game is played is I will give you 5 words, and I'll give you time after each one, but the first thing that pops into your head when I say the word, give me your first thoughts. It's just a fun little game, just to make people laugh, just to have fun.
at the same time.
And then there's 2 of you. I don't know if you want to do your answers at the same time, and then we could laugh about it, or if you want to take turns. Somebody will have 3 and 2 if you take turns, but if you do them at the same time...
If we do it at the same time, then we get to see if we come up with the same thing.
Ooh, that is interesting. Yeah, we could do that. So the way it works is it's going to be 3 words that are related to the doll hobby in some way, and then 2 random words. Just 2 random words. It could be anything. So what I'll do is I'll say the word, you give the first thought in your head, and then we could talk or laugh about it, and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay. So you ready?
Yep.
All right. First word, stains.
Sunshine.
Sunshine. John's still laughing.
Because the thing that popped into my head was underwear.
That's priceless. That's great. That's great. Okay, so then that's good.
I mean, let's be clear. Stain prevention underwear is a thing.
Yeah, stain prevention for dolls is definitely a thing, for sure. That's a good one. All right, so our next word.
Skid marks. Sorry, what?
Next word is cars.
Cars.
Disney.
Yeah, McQueen is what I have in my head.
Okay, that's McQueen. Next word
Actually,
is
eyeballs is technically what the first word that came to my head.
and then word number 3, wigs.
The
Stumped, huh?
dolls.
Yeah, Tangled.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my head too. Whenever I think of wigs, I'm like, oh, it's Tangled. Especially my girls with curly hair.
Yeah, if I had been if my brain had been able to work, I would have probably said flyaways.
Yeah, I'm usually the one that. Yep, actually, Miranda's got quite a few right now. I'm usually the one that does the doll hair, and John will go for like shoulder or short wigs because they're easier to deal with.
Oh yeah, hands
I
down,
also
me too.
like that. It's not just laziness, but yeah.
I like anything long, short, or straight, but it has to be straight. Like the curly hair is beautiful, but it's really hard for me to maintain. Like I have a hard time doing it.
Everybody's been asking us to do a video about that. I need to do a video.
That would be a good video. I'm definitely watching that one. Next word, anime.
Nanmanbyori.
Chibi.
Chibi. Nananbyuri, that's a good show, actually.
So good.
If anybody
I
hasn't
love
watched
that.
it, Nananbyuri is really good. It's cute.
Just makes you warm.
Mm-hmm. And they also are kind of chibi-like. And then last word for today's episode, doll stands.
More.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna say like rickety is what comes in my head. I don't know.
Rickety.
Yeah,
Like
just
unstable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I guess so.
But we always have. I never have. Even though every doll comes with a stand, I never have like enough stands around to
Yeah.
position the dolls the way I want them in the room, and then we end up hearing or coming into the studio and finding, a doll has face planted and 3 dolls are behind it.
And there's many different doll stands out there too. It's just, saddle stands, waist cinching stands. And then for like Smart Doll, you actually have the Smart Socket. But even within Smart Doll, I mean, Danny Chu has already made 5 different variations of a stand? You have the original one, you have the clickety click, you have the telescoping one, the air stand.
I'm not sure about the new one that's like
The clickety?
like the transformer stand, because we're just gonna take 3 stands and put it together. I'm interested to try it to see how well it. I don't know. See if it seems like, does it actually hold and does it seem solid enough? But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did try out the.
Point, well, it's over there. I use my light stands, and I take all the old stuff from. Well, not all of them have it. The black ones don't have it, but the ones that actually unscrewed and you can put on.
Oh yeah.
Corner thread. So I just put those on there, and I love that.
That's how we put a doll here during the news or whatever. We use a mic stand right here, a light stand, and then use the end of one of those.
I wonder. I kind of want a pegboard on a wall, and then just install like turbo joints and stuff on the pegboard, so you can just
like have them stand. The only thing I would be worried about that is, well, I guess there's a couple of things that could come up, but the thing that comes to my mind first is that if you put them on the wall through the turbo joint, will that be quicker to like wear out the support socket? Because you know how Danny always says, never push in the support socket all the way.
Yeah, I'm thinking with a shelf in front of it with a base, not just.
Not just like hanging it. Oh, okay.
But I mean, he's like mounting like those cyber things on walls and stuff too. So
yeah. I saw that post. That was interesting.
I personally wouldn't want to put the weight on it like that. So yeah, but I'm just thinking like if you could have just socket points and then take a couple like the turbo joints so you can control how far out it goes. So you could like, I need this like this far out from the wall, and then just put it in there.
That's another thing. Does he even sell the turbo joints anymore? I don't think they're on there.
He gave all his parts away in chaos.
Yeah.
We've got a bag of turbo joint parts that we got in the early chaos.
Yeah, I have a couple of them, but
find out what the screw it needs, because it's just a bunch of parts with no screw, and I've got to find the exact right size. I think he said it somewhere, but I haven't bothered looking.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Sandy and John, My Lady Disdain, for coming on today's episode. And like I said, sharing your wealth and your knowledge of dolls with us and your knowledge of YouTube and getting it started and things like that. I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us, especially on a Friday night at 10 p.m. that has lasted 3.5 hours to 1:30 in the morning. So I've taken up a lot of your precious time, and I do apologize for taking up so much of your time. But again, I enjoy having you here. Thank you for coming for today's episode.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's really nice to reach out to another person in the community.
Yeah,
so.
and I hope at some point we could
like talking to people.
Yeah, I hope at some point we can do this again for something else, like maybe a different topic or a collaboration video or something. We could always get together. But I do appreciate you coming on today's show for Beyond the Doll. Thank you very much for being here. For those of you that are, for whatever reason, not familiar with My Lady Disdain, John and Sandy, you can find them on YouTube under My Lady Disdain and on Instagram under My Lady Disdain as well. But you have the little underscores in between each
My
word.
Lady Disdain with underscores. Yeah.
Right. Do you
One
also have Twitter? I'm not sure if you have Twitter. If you need,
I do have Twitter, but I don't really use it. The best places are YouTube.
So YouTube and Instagram.
Comment on a Danny post.
That's basically what I do.
Yeah. And also, I don't have the specific information, but if you guys can let people know that are in the stream or watching this later that you also have a Discord for use for anybody for very good doll information and to chat with other doll people. If you could share that info for them too, like where they can find that.
Sure, yeah, you can get an invite to our Discord channel at myladydisdain.com/discord. And there is we have all of the Twitter feeds directly in there in a channel, so you don't even have to join Twitter to follow the Smart Doll news, and we chat about, like, people make threads on all the news items that are exciting and talk about it. And there's a lot of stuff going on there. You can track your projects, like creative projects that you're working on, and share them with the community. So it's a good time.
Yeah,
It's
so come join the court.
It's definitely a great and valuable resource for the doll community. So if you're not already a part of the Discord, I do strongly urge you to join the My Lady Disdain Discord for anything doll related. So again, thank you for coming. My little lady here, Anastasia, is here. We want to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Beyond the Doll, Dolls and YouTube, and our lovely guests, My Lady Disdain, John and Sandy. Thank you very much for coming, everybody.
Bye.
And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.